All right, what is going on and how are y'all doing today? It is Monday, June the 6th, 2022, and you are with your Unc. How y'all doing out there? It's been a while, man. Been a couple of weeks. I thought it was something that was telling me that I had actually come on maybe within the last few days, but I think I've been participating and a lot of the other things. We got great folks doing some stuff. Ryan and brother Glenn out there rocking the bird cage. Still got Tidy holding things down in the Atlanta Bird Gang. Then, of course, you got your uncle here also on Uncle Steve's Lounge on YouTube. Make sure you go over there and press a button or two and get things started. But it's just been a second since I've been in here. And I said to myself, I said, you know what? Let me go catch up with the peeps and see what's going on. I mean, it hasn't been a whole lot of stuff, to be quite honest with you, Falcon based, aside of people really making a big deal about, I guess the buzz thing has been about all these receivers we have on the roster, which to me is a little bit interesting. Um, we went from a team last year where we anointed Russell Gage as the number one receiver. And now it turns out that we're going to complain about having too many options to choose from for our receiving group, which is crazy to me, seeing as how we're also going into the season without the services of Calvin Ridley. I don't want to open Pandora's box on that one, but just I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, so what? We brought a lot of receivers in here to compete. That's what you're supposed to do. Matter of fact, I guarantee you the better teams probably bring a lot of competition. When you think about last year, and somebody brought it up, and I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was in the Birdcage, uh, brought up how last year um, we were at a point, basically, if you remember preseason, they didn't really even play the starters last year. And I know it was only 3 games, but they didn't play the starters. And I remember Tom Brady going out there in preseason trying to get his feet wet. So we were thinking we were so good talent wise that we could march out there day one against Philadelphia and just have our folks just show up and all of a sudden win. And we know how that turned out. That was an embarrassing home opening loss against Philly. And I think this year, Arthur Smith, uh, well, he has to do it differently this year because you have so many new elements going on. I, I know they have the mandatory minicamp, but I believe that's next week that kicks off. But they had all the pictures of the OTAs and stuff, and of course, the OTAs weren't. Um, I don't think they were mandatory, but just good to show your face out there. I know I saw a lot of people out at the stadium. I wish I'd gotten an opportunity to go out there and see what's going on. But again, we have plenty of all season. I think the next public thing, and I'm going to try my best to go out there, is the one next Tuesday. I'm going to see if it's a possibility. I think I may have a work conflict, but we'll see. Uh, what's going on there. And all I want to see right now is to hear some of these players and what they're thinking about the system and what they're thinking about uh, that's going on with Arthur Smith. And does he have a viable system that he can win with in the NFL? I think he showed last year he had some pretty good plays. Maybe we just didn't have the personnel, possibly. Uh, Matt Ryan, obviously gone now. Maybe he didn't fit quite what Arthur Smith was trying to do, which is one of the reasons probably why he's gone right now. I don't think it's a coincidence that the two quarterbacks you brought in are probably of a different skill set than Matt Ryan. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Arthur Smith is looking for a different type of athlete to run that position. And, the first thing you hear everybody says, Ritter looks just like Mariota. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes out. But I was looking at, and I'm gonna pull it up real quick because I think that's just really been the kind of buzz thing. Everybody's talking about these receivers, and I'm gonna pull this up courtesy of ESPN and see if I can make that a little larger so people with my horrible eyesight can see. Okay, so looking up here, most of the time, if I'm not mistaken, I think you end up carrying maybe 6, 7 receivers on the team. And so far, I think it's 12 that are on the. Oh, maybe no, I'll take that back. 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I apologize. There are 14 wide receivers on the roster right now. And again, there's no way to sit here and try to point out who's going to be. We know who's going to be on the roster. Unfortunately, Calvin Ridley is on the roster. They're showing he's not going to be there. So you're talking about 13 people could be. I'm pretty sure OZ will be on the roster as well. Well, Drake London is absolutely going to be on the roster. But I think other than those two, I think this is just a wide open competition. If you look at it, Geronimo Allison, he has some good plays with Green Bay, but obviously not that guy. Cameron Batson, I wish I could sit here and say I've heard of him. Jared Bernhardt, Stanley Berryhill III, Demir Bird, I remember him from Cincinnati. Frank Darby, the ever popular guy on the team, but Frank's got to start looking around the room and saying, okay, all these guys are coming around. All this smile in your face, dancing in the camera, it might not be, keeping me a job. Kadaro Hodge from Prairie View, always looking out for the HBCU brothers. Tyshawn James and Alden Tate and Austin Trammell. So a lot of names on there, but that's, be honest with you, that's a lot of folks that's on your roster. So hey, I hope the evaluation process is one that people are really paying attention and trying to see who fits best in the wide receiver spot. I think the hope is Drake London can adjust very quickly and learn, because that's that's a top 10 pick. You have a top 10 wide receiver, he needs to be starting day one. So I barring injuries, Lord, knock on wood, barring injuries, hopefully he isn't. What's going on, Macario? How you doing, brother? See you out there. Says, how you doing? I hope all is well. I really think we're going to bring a lot of noise this year. I trust that's going to happen. I think we look, when you have this many new faces, the one thing I'm just looking forward to, Macario, when you start talking about the new faces, especially at quarterback, it'll be interesting to see the energy in the dome this year. All right, Mercedes. We have had such a lackluster vibe going on for the last few years. And I don't know. I don't want to put it all on the feet of Matt, because as we have waxed poetic since he's gone, that wasn't all his fault. Matt Ryan definitely didn't control the defense, couldn't stop the offensive people himself or anything. He was just a quarterback. But that being said, with him gone, I wonder how much rope the fans are going to be willing to give Mariota / Ritter. I've had my thoughts about this quite a bit, even from the day we actually drafted Ritter. And quite honestly, it would have been whether we drafted Malik Willis, Ritter, Matt Corral, or whoever it would have been. Ritter is going to get some time. It's no way that Ritter won't start games this year. It wouldn't even make sense, and I tell you why. You have Marcus Mariota signed to a 2-year, $20 million contract. Next year is not guaranteed, by the way, so they could cut him and be clear of him. So you have a quarterback in the third round in Desmond Ritter. And I hear all the talk, and I'm not very big on listening to a lot of folks, talk about, well, yeah, he's a great leader. He's a great, and I got that. I saw it in Cincinnati. He was in the college football championship series. So it's not like he's a scrub, but this is the NFL. This is a different level. So when I see Marcus Mariota and I see Desmond Ritter, barring Marcus Mariota coming out here and winning 7 straight or something like that, I just don't see what you gain if the Falcons are, unless the Falcons are 2-3 games over 500 in week 10. I just don't see how you can't put Ritter on the field, because you're gonna have to make a decision. Listen, next year, it's no secret that there is a projected better crop of quarterbacks coming out next year. And by no means, listen to me clearly, because this is not telling the team to tank, which is ridiculous. But you got to put Ritter out there with live bullets to see what you got. Because if you have somebody that's going to have the potential to be a big time quarterback or be your franchise quarterback, you want to keep him for a couple of reasons. One, he's a rookie. 2, he has that rookie salary. And 3, he has that third round rookie salary. Yes, there's a difference with each level. Obviously, because he's a rookie, whether he was in the first round or not, you kind of controlled, you're scaled already for those first 4 years of his contract. So you already got that down pat. He knows what he's going to make. It really wasn't nowadays, back in the day, maybe 10 plus years ago, before they put the rookie scale in there, you saw a lot of rookies holding out and things like that nature. But they have a scale now that the players are slotted in. So it's not a lot of wiggle room as far as negotiating with the agents with those rookies coming out, even the first round picks. So with Desmond being the third round pick, he's kind of at the mercy of the Falcons, to be honest with you, because hey, if it doesn't work out with him, what do you lose? You lose a third round pick. That's all. So it's not that big of a deal. You've got to go out there and see what he has on the field. You got to. Even if Marcus Mariota is doing well. Now, if he has the team, now let's go back. If he's 7-3, okay, then you might want to rethink that. But if you see where we're 3-6, 4-5, or something like that, you gotta try to see what you have on the field, because next year could be crucial. You might be able to sneak somebody. I've already heard. I think I saw one mock where they had 5 quarterbacks in the first round. What's going on, brother? How you feeling, man? Good to see you on Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about just the roster conversations with the Falcons. People talking about how many wide receivers we have, how many people. But I was looking at the wide receivers. We got a lot of linebackers too on the field for the Falcons. I was pulling that up. Before everybody starts going crazy. And I know you don't carry that many linebackers. I think it's 14 too. Let's pull this up real quick. Look at that linebacker crew. And you think about it, there's not a lot of gimmies on that one. I would imagine Michael Walker is good. Um, I mean, to be honest, that's the only one that I say might be the only one that I think they'll keep on the team. Everyone else is, I don't know. I guess Lorenzo Carter, Quentin Bell, Troy Anderson. I hear the hype, folks. I'm listening, but I'm not big on hype. If you know what Troy Anderson sounds like to me, and I know he wasn't the same round. Troy Anderson to me right now, until I see him on the field, sounds no different than John Cominsky. They hyped up John Cominsky like he was going to be the next coming, and we see John Cominsky already gone. Somebody picked him up. I can't remember who it was. Detroit? Somebody picked him up. Macario says, agreed. The energy from a fan base always shifts the momentum. But I hope the chosen quarterback gives us a chance to open up the playbook and don't force all the pressure on the defense. And that's going to be a different dynamic that you're going to get with this type of quarterback, whomever it is, whether it's Ritter or Mariota. It's obvious that Arthur Smith needs some athleticism in that position. You kind of handcuff yourself with the skill set of Matt Ryan in 2021. Again, this is not a pour salt down the wound of Matt Ryan in his days here, but quite honestly, we're talking about 2022. We're talking about a different level of athlete that quarterbacks have to get rid of. It could be a reason, Matt Ryan. For the most part, I'm not trying to give you any thoughts that the O line did a great job last year, but I can probably count at least 10 sacks that absolutely weren't the offensive line fault. Could have been covered sacks, but there were also sacks that I felt like Matt could have maneuvered out of, in my opinion. I think he should have. I think he could have, but I don't know. What's going on, Rick? How you doing, man? Just discussing the Falcons roster, and also I did have on there as the question of the day to talk about was your top 3 Falcons teams in franchise history. And now when I say teams, I mean seasons, the seasons of those teams. The reason I brought that up, there was a friend of mine that I was talking to at work, and we were discussing some of the best teams as far as the Falcons were concerned. I told him, and I stick by this, I told him that the best team I thought in franchise history was the 1980 team. And I know a lot of people say, well, you had 2 other Super Bowl teams. Yeah, I know exactly. You can't discount the Super Bowl teams doing well. But that team in 1980, and I know a lot of you might not have been born and whatever and all that stuff, but that team in 1980 was pretty special. And maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia because I was a little younger. And of course, when you're kids and you have a little bit more of a uh, affection for those teams back in the day. But that 1980 team was pretty loaded. When you think about the Grits Blitz, and it wasn't the exact 77 team that had the NFL record for holding people down. But when you start talking about rounded teams, they lost 4 games that year. And then this was 1980. This was back in the day when the San Francisco's and the Rams and the Steelers and the Cowboys were all, and the Raiders were all dominating. This wasn't like fluky teams were out there then. The Falcons were competing that year. And I've just always looked at that team as being the best. I do like the makeup of the 2016 team. By far, I don't even think that's one of the top 3 rosters we've had in history. But I do think, just for the sake of top 3 teams. I think that was one of them. And then, of course, the 1998 Super Bowl team that won 14 games. It's hard for me to leave them out of the group when you start talking about best in franchise history when you won a franchise record 14 games that year. That team was really solid. And I think they just ran into a much better Denver team. As you think about, they beat a Minnesota team that was supposed to be unbeatable. They were a double-digit favorite at home in the NFC Championship game, and our team went in there and beat them. And Minnesota Vikings were no slouch that year. Shoot, San Francisco was no slouch that year. We had to fight tooth and nail just to win the division that year. So your top 3 teams in franchise history. That's what I'm looking for when we start talking about these teams here. John Harris, what's going on? The Falcons won the most appreciated custom award at both Big Lots and Dollar General for the 2nd straight year. Well, the difference I'll say this year, if you're going to talk about rosters, though, John, let's keep it real as far as the comparison of this year to last year. I would probably say you went from Dollar General maybe to I'll upgrade a little bit and say maybe, I don't know, TJ Maxx. we got on paper it looks like a little bit better talent, but you're probably right. You're in the same neighborhood. It's not like there was that much of a difference in talent, but I think it was a little bit of an uptick in what we got this year. Last year, Jay, I think we were just filling the roster. We were filling the roster last year because, yeah, we had a little money, but you didn't have enough to do some of those things that you needed to do on there. So I tend to agree with you as far as the cheap roster is concerned. Rick says Matt 2016 Miller's Super Bowl, Mike Vick's playoff against the Vikings. Now, all great moments, and maybe I put it wrong, but the top 3 teams, Rick, the top 3 teams, and I may have said that wrong, but yeah, the top 3 teams on there. So I think you got it. I think you got the spirit of it, but give me your top 3 teams that you have. Stop sharing this right quick. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay. There you go. John Harris also says, I agree that 1980 team was nothing to play with. Yeah, again, that team was pretty special when you start talking about starting all the way from the offense. I mean, you can go down the line and start naming all pros, all stars on that particular team. And again, names that probably aside of Steve Bartkowski, that a lot of people don't remember. But I think those were, I think for my favorite, that was my favorite team. I just think they ran into a lucky Dallas team. Hey, Lisa, how are you? All the pictures down there with you and Mr. Brianne down there at the Dome, at the MB. I know I call it Dome, but MBS. Cool. I'm trying my best. Hopefully, I can make it to that practice that they're doing on the 12th that they sent us some stuff for. I'm hoping I can do that. I think it's a little bit similar to what they did a couple of years ago in the Flowery Branch, and they do that. What's going on, sir?
Sir, how are you, sir?
Uh-oh. Let me turn this microphone up. Let's try that again. How you doing?
Hello.
Yeah. what's going on, brother?
Boss man, we hadn't had a chance to talk together on this media internet airway. Uh-oh. There you go with the head nod.
like like I told you, I haven't had an opportunity
Yep.
to be on here in a couple of weeks, and I've been commenting on a lot of other people's stuff, and I
Yep.
just look recently, and I say, man, I haven't been on in a couple of weeks. I said, let me slip on here and see what everybody's talking about and stuff. So I was talking, of course, everyone's thing they've been talking about recently has been the number of wide receivers on the team and all of this, and I don't understand what the concern is in June, because if we had 14 wide receivers on the team August 30th, I would understand. You want to go out there and see who's who and what. And I got news for people. They're probably going to cut 2 receivers after the mandatory count next week, after the 3-day minute count. So what are your thoughts on just the hubbubaloo, as we used to say in the day, about how many wide receivers we have on this roster? I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, Steve, are we used to having this type of audition?
That's true. That's
See,
true.
that's the thing. That's why the people, and I'm guessing, I'm thinking, that's why the people are reacting the way that they're reacting, because you haven't been used to seeing anything like this. Having that many people to select from, to interview, to work out, to come. Man, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. Now, go ahead.
And I was going to piggyback on what you were saying, and I'm going to let you come right back. If you think about it, and 2008 might be the last time, and ironically, the year we Dimitrov and Mike Smith and Matt Ryan all entered. To your point, for this long stretch, Matt Ryan, no real competition. Julio Jones, Roddy White, Calvin Ridley, no real competition to back them up. Tight end, you can't really. I mean, Tony Gonzalez for the first half, and we really didn't even get anybody to push Austin Hooper, to be honest with you. So when you start thinking about those positions, we're so used to this coaching staff and the organization just saying, oh, those guys are untouchable, so nobody can come in here and push them. So I think I was kind of piggybacking off of that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And see, it begs the question that I wanted to ask. I kind of wanted to ask you to get your opinion on: is this year the real rebuild? Versus,
I think it is. I think it is. I think what you had last year, and I don't know whether rumors were true, and I'm sure you heard the rumors that last year Terry Fontenot really wanted to go get Trey Lance, but Frisco came and jumped right in front of him and got him. They didn't like the skill set of Justin Fields at the time. They wanted Lance, and once Lance wasn't available, we picked the all-world, all-hype tight end, Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying you don't draft a tight end at number 4. Sorry. But I think we got stifled because we weren't able to bring that quarterback in. So we delayed the process 1 year. What other reason would you put, Jay, that, and this is why I'm saying I think the plan all along was to get rid of Matt eventually. Why do you think you would publicly court another quarterback in Deshaun Watson? And glad that didn't work out. But why would you publicly court somebody knowing that you had your 14-year veteran quarterback watching TV saying, they keep saying the Falcons like, this isn't my job. Why? I just think they wanted to start last year and they were forced to start this year for me.
Well, Steve, from the very instant after the criminal charges were eliminated.
Right.
And I keep, and I went on live and talked about the difference between civil prosecution and criminal prosecution.
Right.
And I did that so that people would understand, hey, if a team pays you money, you do what you want to with that money. Okay?
Right.
Civil suit, the team not paying the civil suit. You are Mr. Player. You are Mr. Whoever. And it's out of the money I pay you, but it's not like a criminal trial where, number one, the burden of proof is much greater, okay, because there's jeopardy attached. Right. You go to jail if found guilty, in a criminal trial, right, barring appeals and things of that sort. But in a civil trial, you just pay money for negligence, no matter what it is that takes place. And I kept referring to the OJ trial. He was not found guilty of murder, okay? But with the burden of proof being 51-49 in a civil case, hey, he had to pay money, but the man was still free. Now, thing about that, see, the moment that he was found, that the grand jury did not charge him with any criminal misconduct, it wasn't just us that was bidding for this man. The whole thing just opened up, and everybody talking to Deshaun Watson about this. Can we do this? Can we do that? And Cleveland qualified us as a suitor for him. Okay, right. They qualified us as a suitor for him because Cleveland say, you got some stuff that we want that we can get from you in order, to get this man or whatever. Right. All right. Now, Steve, when you go pursue another quarterback, you automatically say, Mr. Incumbent, whoever you are, you're not good enough. You automatically say that. It's not like you drafted somebody. You are getting a quarterback that started in the National Football League, okay? Right. So you've automatically started a quarterback controversy at the very least, right? Okay, and developed a rift in the middle ground, and then just said that the incumbent, you ain't worth, worth nothing at the forest end of the spectrum, right? Okay, now, Steve, what I'm wondering is what happened? What happened to make the Falcons even pursue him? Because, you remember how large the salary cap hit was going to be. And no matter, whether you got him or not, we were looking for 2023 for relief from this salary cap. Right. Okay? We were looking at 2023 for relief from the salary cap. But then, all of a sudden, we said, Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, Arthur Blank, oh, the hell with the doggone 40, 30, whatever it was, salary cap. I want this man here. Let's see what we can do about getting this man here.
Which is why I tell you, I think the plan was to do this last year. I think they were saying, we're not going to do this with Justin Fields. Even though I think a lot of people wanted him, I think they were saying, if we're going to do something like this, I think we're going to get the guy that we want. We're going to get the quarterback that we're asking for and put him on the side. Now, Matt could have made a business decision then and said, okay, if y'all going to pick somebody at number 4 at the quarterback, the writing's on the wall for me that I don't have that long to go. Fast forward to 2022, to your point, Deshaun Watson, and I'm going to rebut you on one thing about that. Deshaun Watson, once he was relieved of criminal charges, grand jury came back, said it wasn't enough evidence. Then he became the hottest free agent in NFL.
Yeah.
I think the Falcons said, you know what? Instead of kicking this can down the road, remember, because people kept talking about, oh, there was this big payment, that a bonus that Matt was going to get, and we're not gonna do that. And I think the Falcons said, you know what? We're at a point of no return. Whether we get the quarterback we want or not, you're out of here. And I don't think there's a sad face in the house up at Flowery Branch. I think there are guys who probably were looking for a new start, a new energy inside the practice building. And quite honestly, it's going to be cool to kind of see who emerges as that next guy. Grady Jarrett is not your guy right now.
You talking about the face of the franchise?
Kind of the face of the franchise. Now, I've always heard you, and I think I'm trying to think that was Tidy. We were talking about that one day about the face of the franchise. In my opinion, 80 to 90% of the time, that's going to be your quarterback. Obviously, on this team, we don't know in June because neither of the quarterbacks have been in this spotlight in a while. Whether Ritter never. Mariota has been about 3 or 4 years since he's been the man in Tennessee. I want to circle back to what you said about Deshaun Watson. Everything you said was spot on. Criminal charges drop, free agency, free agent. He can go around, talk to everybody and stuff like that. There's a thing called perception. And when you start talking about what the court of public opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I know
it's sometimes worse than the criminal charges. You see what I'm saying? So I don't think it was a purpose thing, but I think that was something when you were talking about that, it just hit me. I was like, yeah, but you can say not guilty all day, just like OJ. OJ's acquitted, and look, no, they didn't have iPhones back then. They didn't have all the devices back then when OJ was creeping in the backyard. They probably didn't have a good camera system, security system, or anything. So again, in the court of public opinion, OJ will always be known as the man who allegedly killed his wife. Because that's what people are going to think. Nothing you can do about that. So in Deshaun Watson's part, there is a big difference to your point. Yes, civilly is much different than criminal, where this is not something that's going to put him in jail. His lawyer kind of screwed up the other day, I think, when he mentioned about the happy endings part and all of that stuff. I think he I think he kind of missed the mark.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Steve, let me stop you right there. Now, Steve, and not talking about me, not talking about you.
Oh, definitely not.
Publicly.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Right.
Everybody that's listening right now, I'm just going to ask you.
Right.
Can you stand the withering examination of your activities behind your closed doors?
Yeah.
Whatever they may be, however tame, however wild, however crazy. Can you stand that type of examination? Or do you want that type of examination done on you? Because see, what's going on now? All right. What's going on now? These people are bringing out things that almost took place, that was suggested, and that possibly could have taken place during the time that he was bringing these people over to his house. Now, thing is that all of these things were revealed at the criminal trial. as factors to try to prove that this man was guilty of criminal misconduct. Okay? Now, there are a lot of things, and and I'm just going to let the public just go, let their imaginations just run wild about a whole bunch of stuff, because I don't know what y'all doing.
Right.
And nobody knows what y'all doing. But think about this. I remember the Mike Tyson situation where the person called him over at 2:00 in the morning, was over there at his hotel room at 2:00 in the morning. Next thing you know, he's accused of rape. Okay. Now, what the old folks say happened at 2:00. The only thing open at 2:00 in the morning on Friday night is the hospital and some ladies. That's what the old folks say. And I'm just trying to be real about it, because of the fact that at any time in a situation like that, you could be accused of a whole bunch of stuff. You are vulnerable. You are vulnerable. Okay. Matter of fact, both parties are vulnerable. Okay. And a lot of times people have escaped being accused of things, being convicted of things, because one or the other party just didn't want to press the issue, or it just didn't happen the way that somebody said it would, or it wouldn't stand up in a court of law. Okay. And because of that, that court of public opinion now, because you have 25 people now, right? 24 people now are accusing this man of improper conduct.
Right.
Okay. Civil improper conduct. All right.
Let me tell you something. The public could care less at this point when you say civil. All they hear is 24 cases.
Yeah, you got
that's what the public hear. And I want to piggyback quick, because Lisa had a very good statement. She said way too many accusers. All of them may not be telling the truth, but everyone isn't lying either. And I agree with that, because I think we want to, I don't want to say we, let me make sure. There are a great number of people that want to just normalize what the actions that allegedly went on. And quite honestly, whether it's a criminal act or not, judged by people on the grand jury, that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of folks.
See, you're right.
That's a lot of folks.
Right. But see, thing is now, let's take this a little bit further. What is considered now normal and acceptable in 2022, when we were, was it acceptable as being normal then?
I think it was more under cloak, though. I think it was cloaked a lot more. Listen, right? It was taboo. It was taboo to go to strip clubs.
True.
It was a lot back in the day. When you think about it, people didn't talk about it publicly. You didn't see it on the news. You didn't see it. Of course, we are with social media. We're inside of everything.
But they didn't talk in everybody's business.
Right. It's in everybody's business. But folks were trying not to, back in the day, folks didn't talk about that. You didn't hear about Lawrence Taylor doing cocaine until 10 years later. You didn't hear about some of the guys going out on the benders and stuff like that until years and years and years later. So I fast forward to even about 10 plus years ago, Pat-Man Jones. Pat-Man got in trouble going to the strip clubs, and you say to yourself, wow, how dare he? He's a football. He go, man, them cats ran the strip clubs back then. Yeah. So when you start now, to your point, fast forwarding to 2022, things that are quote unquote normalized, I think people know some of that stuff goes on, but I don't think we're at a point where we have normalized 24 different clients that
No,
are,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
See, the thing is that these 24 different clients are telling the same story.
Right,
And yeah,
right.
and those 24 different clients are telling the same story about what this man was asking for, what he was doing, all of this type of stuff. You
Let
know.
me jump some of these comments
Okay.
because everybody's talking about it right quick. First, I'm gonna go to my buddy. Says we were talking about Trey Lance. Say I agree. They wanted Lance and Shanahan 22 straight years jumped us, and then said, and that was good because it kind of is. He's kind of not elite, and Lance might have been a reach as far as Trey Lance quarterbacking is concerned. Going back, my wife. Keith, what's up, Keith? How you doing, brother? Keith says, if I had to make a guess, 16 of them are lying. Keith, listen, because I want every woman that hears this to not think that we're trying. Listen, we just came off a big civil case where Amber Heard was kind of rebuked in her allegations against Johnny Depp. And no means am I saying that a great percentage of women as a whole lie about things like this. But to piggyback off what you're saying, Keith, in that line of business, and that was business that transact. I am pretty sure to a man that all 24 of those people got paid. If they were coming up saying they didn't he didn't finish the transaction, that would be one thing. But all of them that walked out took the check. And if they were that hurt, that offended, felt something criminal went down, I would hope and I would encourage them to go straight to the police or straight to somebody that they could report that. The fact that we are kind of gathering, it's almost, and I didn't mean for this to all turn into a Bill Cosby type thing. And we're gonna get off of this in a second, but it does bother me that there's this huge group of folks that at the same time, under the same lawyer, all decide that let's go get them. And that's the only attitude I can say. Let's go get them. So I don't know. You don't know. A lot of us don't know. Obviously, the grand jury didn't know because they didn't think it was enough to go criminal with it. But this lawyer is smart. Busby, I think his name is. This guy is a genius because you know what he's doing? He's killing Deshaun's credibility. He is killing his credibility.
Well, Steve, I'm going to say this.
Wait, before you get into Will, because you're going to talk a minute, let me get these other guys in. Tobias says, my thing is, did he force them or did they give him happy ending willingly? Again,
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
And see,
and some might even suggest that if they did, Tobias, there could have been some type of psychological something that they might have felt threatened if they didn't do it or something, which could be true. If you have a big football player, half your size, and I don't know what these women's height, weight, or even what they look like, you might have felt intimidated. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. Plus, we didn't hear about this until Watson didn't want to play for the Titans anymore. Now, if there was ever a trail that went from Busby to the Houston Texans, boy, Deshaun would have the case of a lifetime. So I hope that's not the case. Keith said, I really want to see him play, but I don't think that's going to happen, at least not anytime soon. Yeah, with these last two cases, because it's been two in the last week or so, I think it's becoming more and more apparent that he may not play in 2022. And if he does play, it's going to be very, very light. I don't think it's going to be a couple of years. A couple of games. I think he's looking at least 10 and stuff. What's going on, brother Ryan? How you doing, brother? We are getting on here and we got way off topic on here. So I want to steer this way back because we got into Deshaun Watson, who is not on the team. I'm going to get back to the original question, which was roster concerns in June. Plus, I want to hear everyone's top 3 Falcons teams in franchise history. That's where we kind of started. We were talking about the wide receivers and how many of them were there, how many have a realistic chance of making the squad or not. So let's go back. Jay, let's take it all the way back. Your top 3 Falcons teams in franchise history. And they don't have to have a resume that ends in a playoff win or anything like that. But in your opinion, your 3 top squad seasons of the Atlanta Falcons, your favorite, not so much, doesn't have to be by the numbers.
Well, see, for my criteria, they have to end in.
Okay, that's fine. I was just saying they didn't have to, but yours does. That's cool.
I understand.
So yours is easy then. So yours is the 2 Super Bowl teams and what else?
The 2 Super Bowl teams, and I am torn. Man, I'm torn between the 91 Falcons and the 1980 Falcons because, I think Ryan Walker was talking about the 91 Falcons, and see, the thing was, and I always told you that Jerry Glanville is my favorite coach.
Right.
Love that man because
I think Atlanta loved Jerry very much.
Love that. And you had some detractors that didn't like it because I remember Houston used to call him Jerry Grandview, and they had a little doll and all that type of stuff. But the thing was, he was the first one to give this team, if I remember correctly, he was the first one to give this team attitude. And I mean, it was a situation where we down by law, they not respecting us. So Sunday we're going to be on our worst behavior. Plus the fact he was the one that brought the black. He's the one that brought the black and brought the black uniforms. And we were I guess we could be the Oakland Raiders of the East or the South or the West or whatever.
I was gonna say, you say brought the black literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
One of the things I think that Jerry Glanville did was Jerry absolutely looked at his environment that he was around, and with his fan base, merged those guys. This was Atlanta, and don't get me wrong, the makeup of Atlanta hasn't changed in the city much. What's going on the outside is pretty much where most of the big changes are. But Jerry needed to ingratiate this team to the city. You needed to make sure this city brought that energy to the Falcons. I think when Glanville took over, was the first year was outside the dome, and then the second year was it the first 2 years or the first year and the second year?
I think
they went into the dome.
We went into the dome in '92, if I'm not mistaken, and we were.
No, was it 90? Was it 92? I thought it was 91.
Might have been 91.
Yeah, I think it was the first year. Okay, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I was right. The first year was 90. And
we were in the dome in 90?
No. The first dome year was 91.
91.
Yeah. 91.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, right. And
but,
then Glanville was there 90, 91, 92, and 93.
Yeah.
So he was there those 3 years. So,
Okay.
So he was that's when he came in. Let me catch up couple more comments here. Let's go to Ryan, who says, honestly, the roster right now is not even ready. It's mainly just camp bodies and competition right now on both sides of the ball. And yeah, Ryan, even before John came on, I was telling people, don't get over concerned about the 80 plus people and the 14 people at linebacker, the 14 people at wide receiver. There are going to be cuts probably after the mandatory mini camp next week. So I think it's going to be interesting. Keith says 1991, 1998, and in 2016. Can I make a shout out for the 2017 team? They were good the last 7 games. That 2017 team is going to get lost in the shuffle, but that was a huge year. The Falcons actually broke the mold because I think the Super Bowl loser for like 5 years in a row in the NFC didn't even make the playoffs. And the Falcons made the playoffs that year. But if you remember, unfortunately, Shanahan took the job in Frisco, and we had to deal with the uneasy transition of Steve Sarkisian that year, who did a much better job in 2018. But yeah, the 1991 season, I think for everyone, I think that was more of a cultural thing, which is great because from a you didn't see swag on a football. You saw talent. You saw talent on teams like Pittsburgh, Dallas, Oakland, the Rams, and folks like that. That 91 Falcons team was the first one to come up and kind of attitude their way. Won and let you know they won. You see what I'm saying? Do you remember that vibe back then, Jay?
Oh, yeah. See, man, look. The year before we moved into the dome, the very first game we played the Houston Oilers that year. It was the first or the second game we played the Houston Oilers that year, and we had 21 points in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, or it scored in the first quarter. And man, the stadium was crazy. It was crazy. You know, hey, your boy Andre Bruce caused a fumble.
Andre Bruce, who's probably sitting at the Target right now. Lisa said she met Coach Glanville before. She need to show that picture for us. Ryan says, nah, we couldn't beat the Raiders, period. We had too many soft players that didn't meet the criteria at all. We had good players, we're definitely never in that category, which kind of goes back to when you start talking about we swagged our way through at that time. I think we swagged our way.
I don't know about that one.
I think in 91, you swagged your way through. You had a good team. Don't get it wrong. You had a very good team.
You say swagged your way through. What do you mean by that?
What I mean was, I think they might have been the first NFL team. And I'm not saying trash talk and stuff didn't happen back in the 80s and 70s. Again, we didn't have as many cameras on people and as many hot mics and player mics and stuff like that. So you didn't hear as much back then that you heard by the time you got to 91. But by the time you got to 91, and I see Ryan just corrected us, that first game in the Georgia Dome was 92. He said we were still in Fulton County, so my bad. So 1992. I was serving your country then, young man. So I give a right to mess up on a year or two. So it was 1992. But I go back to what you're saying, Jay. When you thought about that season, and I'm going to go back and let's look at 1991 real quick. I'll pull it up and then I'm going to pull up the games and I'm going to let y'all share. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's share the screen, Jay. You
got a better connection than me.
Okay. All right. So that particular year, I'm gonna try to put it up because I know you can't see either. Let's see. Let's go. Okay. All right. If you can see that, can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Can you see? Can you see it? Okay. So that particular year in 2000. So I'm gonna look at the losses that we had that year, and I don't know what Kansas City was back in
What year is that?
1991. Say what now?
What year is that?
This is the 1991 season. This is not
Okay.
1991 season. Um, so Kansas City, we lost to Minnesota. We lost the Saints, who we ended up beating in the playoffs. We lost to Phoenix Cardinals. I forgot they were called that at one time. Washington Redskins. Now, if you remember, Washington was the team that eventually put us out of our misery that year. So that was a pretty good team. And then, of course, we lost the last game of the year to the Dallas Cowboys. And I guess pulling this up didn't help me. I was kind of looking for some juggernaut teams. The Washington Redskins went on to win the Super Bowl that particular year. So I think you were going to lose to a team. You lost to in the slushy mud. I remember that game. I do remember that. But
oh yeah, because during halftime, they made sure that the band and the horses went right through the middle of the field.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was on purpose.
That was a miserable miserable game. All right, so I'm gonna let me go through some more people's choices here. Ryan says 19. Hold on, let me go back here. He says 1991, 2012, and 2016. The 2012 team was actually pretty good too. I thought that was a team. I think we were fluky that year. Not fluky that year. We were fluky 2 years ago. The team that Aaron Rodgers came and ran roughshod over in 2010, I believe that was. Well, and then by 2012, I think we had learned our lessons a little bit and were a much better team. And quite honestly, should have. Jay, did you come to that
game with us? In 2012? No, I didn't.
Okay, all right. I know you came to a couple of them, but yeah, that 2012 team was actually a really good team. That was 2012. Okay.
Now the 2012 team, now the 2010 team. Now, see, this is the thing, Steve. Mm-hmm. We were the number one seed in 2010.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
13-3. Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Now, as far as being fluky, now you do you fluke your way to being 13-3, or were you legitimately good enough to be the number one seed and you just blew it in that first round game? Because the very first game we played was against Green Bay.
And they ran us out our own building.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I say I think that year was more smoke and mirrors. Listen, 13-3 in football is hard. So I'm not gonna sit here and try to act like that was a horrific team and they just lucked up. But I will say, once they got to, and Green Bay was a wild card that year, if you remember.
Yeah.
I mean, they just came, and I don't even think we were missing anybody significant on that team. I just think they beat the shit out of us that year.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
DG says, what's up, DG says, Fontenot says the 53-man roster not in the house yet. Well, and like I said, that's the thing we were trying to, I agree with them. No way I'm thinking, look, they might have some, people forget, now that it's a 3-game preseason, remember, you're going to have some last day cuts that we might pick up and drop some people. And people forget Alan Levitre, who ended up being a starter on the Super Bowl team. We picked him up after the 4th game of the preseason, and he came in and ended up staying with us for a couple of years. So, those kind of things right there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, I remind people of 2013. You remember when we had the Cincinnati Bengals in here? Preseason.
Was it? Oh, preseason. Okay.
Preseason.
Yeah.
We thought our offensive line was set, or we thought we was good.
Was that preseason or the scrimmages?
It was the scrimmages in the preseason.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Scrimmages in the preseason.
Right.
We thought we were good.
Right.
We thought 2013, 2014, when I'm trying to, I can't really remember, but I do remember them scrambling because Cincinnati came in here and showed us what it was we had. And they said, oh, God, whoa, Lord, have mercy. We got to go shopping. And they had to hurry up and get some people in here, to try to put a line together. Because, see, man, Cincinnati just tore our offensive line apart in the practices as well as the preseason game. So, just like the man said, and just like you said, hey, man, right now we resemble a college team. We just got a whole bunch of doggone recruits in here, and we trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. That's all we're doing right now.
And you're really not going to find out anything until that very first preseason game. That very first preseason game is, and this is going to be the great thing, because the last, 10 to 12 years, Matt Ryan has had limited time. This year, you're going to basically see our starting quarterback play all three games, one way or the other, whether it's Mariota or Ritter. There's not going to be, he needs to rest, because they are in straight up competition. And I love it. I love the fact that we can do that.
Steve, see, you brought something up. Now, Steve, last year, you don't play your starters, none in the preseason.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And see, okay. And I said this on my, live that I put up last week. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about, come on, man. Come on, man.
And I think I attributed that to somebody else. That was you that was talking about that. And you're right. You when you did not start anyone, especially your quarterback, and you made the point, and I piggybacked, if you go back to the beginning of this before you came on, I even mentioned Tom Brady played in the preseason. The 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback at 43 years old last year was out there during the preseason getting reps. But we, for some reason, thought we were good enough to march Matt out there cold. And we got happy. We went down the field one time and get that field goal, and Philly scored they scored like the next 13 points or something. Something they did. But I know that was a horrible game that we sat in there and watched. I'm gonna catch up real quick with a couple more folks up here. RG says the attitude was attached to Dion, too legit to quit. And not only Dion, Dion was the face of that team. But you remember, man, that was Rising. Jerry Glanville had a lot to do with the attitude. No doubt Prime was the face. Prime brought Hammer in there. Prime brought some of the local Atlanta folks in there. No doubt. Don't let it. I am not naive. Prime was in his prime. But none of that. Think about that. Glanville invited that environment. He invited that swag, that attitude. So, yes, Prime was the face of that attitude. NFL coaches didn't do that, man. Landry wasn't doing that. Parcells wasn't doing that. Walsh wasn't doing that. Chuck Noll wasn't doing that. Glanville said, you know what? We don't have the horses or the legacy or the whatever they have in there. Let me try something different. Let me let these boys be themselves. And in some ways, that probably worked against some folks. But for the most part, I think that he needs to get a lot of the concerned about. I mean, a lot of the credit on that. Ryan also says, my daddy was serving to Army Airborne. Good job. And awesome for your pops. Jaqual, what's going on, brother? I ain't heard from you in a long time, man. He's okay. Oh, DG came in. Let me get DG. I'm gonna come back to Jaqual. DG said, in hindsight, we can say that, but as soon as one of the key players got hurt, the story flipped on why we were playing them. But last year though, DG, I hear what you're saying, but we weren't. Look, 2018, 19, 20, 21. Our team is in no position to be resting people. We didn't have a roster full of star players. Everybody need to get out there and get wet. Everybody need to get out there and get a little bit of PT. You can't sit here and tell me, and I understand what you're saying. Matt Ryan goes out there, twists the ankle and whatever. Some would say that might help. But there were, you can't sit there and act like you gotta protect him. That's kind of hard to.
Let me say something on that, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, he could have got hurt in practice too.
That's true.
Against his own players, against his own people. But see, the thing is that you can't bring no quarterback cold, no wide receiver cold,
right,
into a regular season game, as though, you saving him. And see, that's where I had a problem with this coaching staff right off the rip. It wasn't enough that you didn't draft a quarterback when you were there at number 4. But then your starting quarterback, you don't even play him during the preseason. And here, like you said, and I brought out when I did my live, here Tom Brady, a 7-time Super Bowl champion, you put him in for one series. If you don't get a touchdown, take him out, put the other people in. And I mean, from week 1 all the way to week 4, man ain't seen the field. Come on, man.
I'll take it one step further with you, DG. DG said that's why you put the red jersey for. That's what you have the red jersey for. I'll take it one step further. After draft night, the Falcons were so excited about 2021. They went and printed out the little picture with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts, and Calvin Ridley. Y'all remember that? They hurried up and got that out there. And if you go back a year from now and go look on the Bird Gang and look at the things, you'll see all those memes that people were putting up there. Within a matter of a month or two, we knew that Julio wasn't going to be there. And after a few months, Calvin wasn't going to be there. So you really didn't have an opportunity. You can't You can't assume everything's going to pick up just like that. Julio's not in your offense anymore. Now you need to see how Ridley looks out there in the first slot in wide receiver 1. Now you need to see how Russell's going to look in that second spot. You can't wait till the first game of the season to figure that stuff out. I just made the assumption they were going to come out there in game 3 in the preseason, but they didn't. I'm going to go back and get Jaqual because Jaqual, my man, I didn't get his comment. He said during that span between 2010 and 2012, wasn't a lot of games won on Matt Bryant's leg. 2016 was the only year where I felt like we smoked people with our offense. That span was also the span where Matt's ability to win in the playoffs. I disagree with you a little bit. That 2010 to 2012, now don't get me wrong, because 2010 and 2012 we won 13 games, and I think that in between year we won. Looking at it right now, we won 10. We went 13-3 in 2010, 10-6 in 2011, and 13-3 in 2012. We actually did. I know 2010 we won at least a couple of games on Matt Bryant because That wasn't that the year that Matt threw 5 interceptions against the Raiders. He did it twice. He threw 5 interceptions against the Raiders and won the game because Matt Bryant was there. I think that was Matt Bryant. I'm pretty sure that was Matt Bryant. And then in the next year, Mike Singletary killed the Falcons. They killed them up until the fourth quarter, and then the play where Matt threw the interception and Roddy White went down to make the guy fumble. I'm trying to think what year that was. I'm going to figure it out, but it's somewhere in between that 2010 and 12 season. But yeah, yeah. And don't listen, 2016 ended up being magical. It really did. But let's not pretend like those first 7 games didn't happen. We were 4-3. We lost some embarrassing games, including the one to San Diego. At the time, they were still San Diego. And we lost the opening game of the year to Jameis in the Dome against Tampa Bay. We didn't really get our stride in that 2016 team, even though the offense was doing well. We didn't hit our stride until I would say that Tampa Bay game where we went down to Tampa Bay and beat them there. I'm getting ready to pull up the 2016 season real quick, and I'm gonna let y'all look at it. We're gonna look at it together. Here we go. All right, Jay, we're gonna share the screen again. There we go. Okay, we look at the season.
Old folk.
Can you see it?
Give me about 100x.
All right, go on. All right, let me. Oh man, hold on.
That's fine. There you
okay.
Go. That's good.
But look, this is the geriatric version of Bird Game, y'all. So y'all bear with us. Okay, and the game I earmarked was really this game right here against Tampa Bay. And you can really go back one more to Green Bay. So I'll earmark this game here, which was game number 8 of the season. We only lost 2 games then. We went to Philadelphia, and we be brutally honest, we probably should have won that game. But that was the one that was a little man's name. Gabriel caught the bomb against the Eagles. And then, of course, Kansas City with the pick 2, Eric Berry that year, another game we should have won. But really from here on in, that's where we kind of we start really making our stride. Those first 7 games were really uneven. We lost at Tampa. I was there. The Oakland and New Orleans game, New Orleans was a big win. But then we turn around and lose to Seattle on the phony pass interference play that should have been called. And then we lost the second week against San Diego, also at home. So as much as the 2016 season was really magical, I think those were parts of that season where I say, yeah, we didn't exactly beat the roof off of people. We were 11-5 that year. We probably had potential to be 13-3 too. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, now we were still, I guess, getting our sea legs together because this was the second year of Shanahan and Ryan.
Right.
And I think we talked once before about the come to Jesus meeting that they had to have because it was just turmoil between those two in 2015 because he didn't allow Matt to audible, didn't have any audibles for the offense. Matter of fact, you remember he wouldn't even let him go in the shotgun.
Right.
And as you saw in 2016, shotgun came. He was able to audible. He was able to run a no huddle because they got together and got things together. And see, because of that, and the way that we were beating people at the tail end of the season, that's when we got on the map. That's when we got on the map because people started to notice, oh, what them Falcons? Let me take a look at them. And see, when you start beating people like that, hey, you draw major network coverage and interest. People start talking about you. Now, that 2011 seasons you were talking about, Steve, that was the year that we went to play the Giants and we shot 2 free throws, and that was on the score we had.
And that really wasn't even a legitimate safety, if you remember. He threw the ball. It was a intentional grounding.
Wasn't nobody over there,
Right.
So but and the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
And see,
well, that was 2 years in a row that we lost to the eventual Super Bowl champs because we lost to Green Bay and then we lost to the Giants back to back.
We were the warm-up team for the Super Bowl team. We were the warm-up team.
Jaqual comes back and said, look at the points we put up, though. It was our D that found itself later in the season. And listen, you're not going to get an argument with me about the second half of the season. We were unbeatable by then. And yeah, we were putting up some points, but there were also some time that Philadelphia game, we should have put up a few more points in that game. If you think about it, the only big score, I think that was Gabriel's bomb. And what was the final score in that? Something to 15? Was that?
It was
24-15. So we only put up the touchdown, and I probably need to look at the box score. How did they score? 15. They did. Let's see. We did. Gabriel had a 70. Oh, Matt Bryant actually missed the extra point. So we had the touchdown and 3 Matt Bryant field goals, and he actually missed the extra point. So and listen, I'm kind of being a little difficult with you. Don't get me wrong, that we had a prolific offense. Nobody's trying to say the offense wasn't that great or anything like that. But I am just saying that while I thoroughly enjoyed that 2016 season, I just think we still left a lot, even in the regular season. I think we left a lot left on the board there. I think
Steve,
that's why that's one of my favorites. Go ahead, man.
But Steve, now, refresh my memory. We've always struggled with Philadelphia.
Yeah, especially there. Especially going to Philadelphia. Yeah, going to Philadelphia has always been kind of a bugaboo when you start thinking about, our history. I also think, unfortunately, not fondly about that's what I was going to ask you while we're talking about that. You were saying that your best teams was based on results. Now, the Falcons have been to the championship game, is it 5 times?
Yeah, because I know Vic took us
1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. The 2 Super Bowls, 2012 and 2000. What was the Vic year? 2004.
2004.
So that has to negate your third choice because you said it was based on winning. So one of yours has to be either the 2012 or the 2004 season. So which one of those? Because I think you said the 2091 season.
I said 91, and
so you got to take them out according to your own criteria.
You're right because my love of Glanville just
right. I understand.
I love Glanville just because
so you got to replace that team. Which one of those teams you replace it with?
Oh, I put 4. 2004. Yeah. Hey, I don't have long to think about that.
I'll go with that 2012 team. I think that was a team that actually should have won the Super Bowl when you go back there. Jaquan says our problem that season on offense, and most of the time Matt was with us, was slow starts, not getting on the board until late in the first or the second quarter. And the crazy thing was, Jaquan, that ended up being really the opposite at the end, because we started jumping on teams and then the teams would slowly start coming back. The New England thing wasn't just an anomaly. If you really go back and look at the Falcons, going all the way back to 2012, it shouldn't have been a shock when we came up with the big lead against Seattle. And then Seattle, we luckily had a little time on the clock. The Frisco game and the championship game, we're up. We're basically celebrating going into the end of the third quarter, thinking the game is over with, and we lose that one. Fast forward to 2016, the game against New Orleans that closed the dome out. New Orleans had the ball in their hand with the opportunity to tie in that game, if people remember.
See, that's when we were together.
Right.
We were at that game. Now you remember.
That's what I thought we were. I knew we were at one of those games together.
And you know, I was acting a fool.
Yeah.
I was acting a fool because New Orleans was coming by. I said, "Hey, man, we were so far ahead of them that it was going to be a matter of time, them having enough time to come back." But I was
31-10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
At halftime.
Hey, come on, man. These jokers coming. Right. They coming. And you know, New Orleans would look, even though we were already in the playoffs, and you know, nothing that they would have done would have been a situation or not.
Right.
We were still New Orleans wouldn't have loved nothing more than to spoil the season. That's all. They would have loved to just spoil the season for spoiling's sake. You know. Right. So you got, hey, man, I'm telling you.
Right. Says get them up. Yeah, I was just saying. I just know. I don't know. Some of those facts were kind of a little distorted there. Daniel says I was at the NFC title game in our last game at the Dome. Ironically, Daniel, that's what's going on. By the way, my brother, that's the T-shirt I actually have on today. The NFC Championship, Atlanta Falcons, NFC champions. That's the shirt I'm literally wearing at this moment.
Steve.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Where am I? Oh, I got it. But Steve, that was supposed to be only a 2-week shirt.
Yeah.
2-week shirt. Just like I got the 2-week hat. That's supposed to be just a 2-week shirt. You know, you're supposed to have a doggone Super Bowl championship doggone hat and shirt. Let's go on, Steve.
Well, there's some unfortunate family down in the lower parts of Asia or Africa that probably have our Super Bowl championship shirts somewhere. So
I got some, but I'm using them as car wash rags.
Oh man, I don't. So let's give a little perspective, Jay. And I know I'm going against the grain. I've always said my favorite team was the 1980 Atlanta Falcons team. And that's my favorite. A lot of people can't speak on that team. I know you can. Give me a little insight on your thoughts of that particular team. I know a lot of people, unfortunately, think that was the beginning of the Grits Blitz. That actually wasn't. They were a couple of years before, and we just had remnants of that defense. But tell people how good that 1980 team really was.
Man, with Jackson and Jenkins.
Yeah.
Oh man, and boy, Steve Barkowski. I mean, look now. You wanted to see a bomb. If you wanted to see a perfectly thrown bomb,
Woo!
And oh my God.
Only at that time, maybe Doug Williams, but only other than Doug Williams, Bartkowski threw the best long ball in the NFL, and everybody knew it.
Yeah.
Everybody who was to a man back then told you. I pulled it up, Jay, just to pull up that particular year. That season, we were the number 1 seed in the NFL that year. We lost our first game against Minnesota by 1 point. But if you look at the losses that we had, we didn't lose a game by more than a touchdown. We lost the first game by 1 point. We lost to Miami by 3. We lost to the Jets by a touchdown. And then we lost in overtime to the Rams on the last game of the year that didn't mean anything. Because we had already clinched the number 1 position in that season. And then, of course, the heartbreak of losing to Dallas that year. But I'm gonna pull down just to show the stats. So you remember Mike Morawski? I forgot all about him. The backup for
Mike Morawski.
Mike Morawski. But look at these numbers that 12-4, and folks back in 1980 to throw for 3,000 yards back then was huge. Back then, huge. I mean, Bartkowski was a beast back then. So he did have the 16 interceptions because he threw a lot of passes. But that particular year, he went 31 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. But look down here. This is the part that I want people to watch. My favorite Falcon of all time, William Andrews, that particular year. William Andrews threw and I think he should have been in the running for the MVP that particular year. But again, the Falcons didn't have a lot of history back then. They didn't want to. It wasn't popular to give any awards to the Falcons then. But that particular year, William Andrews ran for 1,300 yards that year. 1,300 yards. And look here in the second row, Lynn Kane. Do y'all remember Lynn Kane? USC. Lynn Kane ran for 914 yards. So what does that say about that particular year, Jay? When you see your top 2 running backs running for over 2,200 yards?
You had an offensive line.
I mean, you talk about them cats that were on that team.
You had an offensive line. And I was in a doggone argument with some people saying, trying to get them to understand, look, you judge your offensive line by the production of your running backs because they got to get out of the backfield in order for them to get some positive yards.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get to my where are my wide receivers? Here we go. Oh, my receivers. Wallace Francis that year, 862 yards, 81, 7 touchdowns. Alfred Jenkins, highly underrated, 1,035 yards, 6 touchdowns. Alfred Jackson, who didn't get a lot of catches, but look at the touchdowns. He was the long threat, 400 yards. And then, of course, brother Junior Miller, who had a huge year that year, 46 catches, 500 yards, 9 touchdowns, big red zone. Well, when William Andrews and Lynn Kane weren't running in big time. And then going in here to look at our defensive guys on this team, folks don't remember, man. Joel Williams, Al Richardson,
Roland
Lawrence, Buddy Curry, Tom Pridemore, Mike Glazebrook. These boys, I mean, people just don't realize, man. That squad. Oh man, this and now I've just always thought that was just a quality team, man. I thought that team absolutely should have made it further.
But you
than
know
it
what
did.
happened, Steve? You know what happened?
Was it?
I don't know if you remember, but Larry Munson and Jeff Van Note had a show. I'm trying to remember whether it was 680 The Fan
Yeah,
or
it was set. But no, it was 680.
680 The
680. Yeah.
They were on in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to call in and talk to him. And I asked him because I had heard that he had said that Layman Bennett shut the offense down.
Mm-hmm.
He said Layman Bennett shut the offense down. I said, Jeff Van Note, now you keep talking about Layman Bennett shut the offense down. You know, are you really true? He said, I will never forgive that man. Yeah. I will never forgive that man because we were killing Dallas.
They were beating Dallas down. As a matter of fact, you're gonna make me go to the scoreboard. And I apologize for those of you who aren't interested, but you can always scroll. That particular game, we were up in the fourth quarter. We were up 27-17. And even the drive that we scored the touchdown, because we were up 24-17, we led all game.
Yeah.
We led all game. Even when Mazzetti kicked the field goal, we still had an opportunity to score a touchdown, which really would have shut it down.
Yeah.
Because people didn't have the 2-minute offenses that they have now, where now it's installed and it's, people come back real quick. People didn't do this all the time. And in a matter of basically, I don't know, about 8 minutes, Dallas came back, scored 2 touchdowns, and we're sitting here talking about
okay. I'm trying to think because I remember seeing a documentary on the 1980 Falcons. I don't know who did it, but it was before they were calling neutral zone infractions where Ed Too Tall Jones had jumped offside, didn't touch nobody, but ran
and got
the offensive line and the defensive line and got in the hole that Andrew was supposed to be running in to get the first down. Okay, and this was all due to the fact that man shut the doggone offense down and wasn't killing Dallas. Because see, you remember the coaches back during that time. You didn't run it up on nobody. Okay, you didn't kill nobody. You didn't run it up on nobody. Trying to be politically correct and being able to shake hands. After the doggone game was over with. But that's one thing that I liked about Jerry Glanville and Belichick too. Look, I don't care. Look, man, I don't care about shaking your doggone hand. My football team won the game. Okay. If you didn't want this beating, why you keep putting your starters out there? As long as your starters going on the field, I'm putting mine on the field, and we going to score touchdown.
You gotta make them pay.
Yeah,
you make them
play and get hurt, doggone trying not to play 100%.
Ryan comes on and says he forgot about Junior Miller and Wallace Francis. Remember, Junior Miller was the Kyle Pitts of 1980. Junior was good. Don't get me wrong, but Junior only gave us about 1 or 2 years. Now, Kyle Pitts. I will admit
that book is yet to be written.
Yeah.
That book is
Junior was good that year.
Junior Miller. Now he was
long term. Oh no, long term.
Hey, and see the thing is now that whole offensive. Well, I'm going to say the offensive line was pissed about what he did, about what Bennett did. And let me see, Layman Bennett stayed there 1 more year before he went to Tampa Bay, right?
No, he was there 3 more years. He stayed until 83. Yeah, he was there. He went to the playoffs again. He went to the playoffs in 82. That was the strike season.
Yeah, it was the strike.
And that was his last year.
Yeah,
it was last year.
And he went down to Tampa Bay and did
the
exact thing.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Yep. He went down there and did that. Sheehan, what's going on, Sheehan? Sheehan says 98 is my best Falcon team of all time on both sides of the ball. I think we were top 5 offensively and defensively. Again, Sheehan, we were talking about them earlier. Dude, you can't luck up on 14 games in the NFL. That was actually
Steve,
yeah.
I know you went to Pro Football Reference for that.
Yeah.
Pull up 1980 and see what they have the Falcons offense and defense rated at that time, because they have all of the ratings or whatever between 1 to whatever it was. Gotcha. And see, I would, but Steve, it'll take me all week.
I'm gonna pull that up one second. Let me go down here, and then I'm gonna get said. Walker says Lynn Kane was Charles White backup. Yep, we remember. And Marcus Allen was playing fullback. It almost reminds you of that Auburn backfield. Brian, back when William Andrews was the blocking back, and you had it made me forget that quick. Chuck Muncie and not James Brooks. Who was the other guy? I made me forget that quick. I'm gonna go back and see, but they had a pretty good trio back then. He said, I think the losing the leads was a Matt Ryan problem. He always comes out cold in the third quarter. That was true. Daniel says, I wish we had Prime and Asante. Yeah. Ryan Lehman Bennett went Republican on the play call. He's talking about in that 1980 game. And remember back then, though, Ryan, and in his defense, I think back then, there was no that was the way you did it. I think there were some teams that almost took offense if you were down by 10 and you weren't trying to, run the ball out and run the ball.
You're right.
I think there was I don't want to say a gentleman's agreement, but I think there was just kind of a thought that, okay, bro, y'all lost. Let's just let them run the ball. But give credit to Dallas that Dallas said, no, we're going to do this our way. Ryan says NFL. I'm sorry, go ahead. What'd you say, Jay?
I'm trying to think whether it was 70, 78, or 80 that we had knocked what's his name out. Oh man.
It was 1978. We were playing Roger Staubach.
We had knocked
Robert Pennywell from the Atlanta Falcons in our first ever NFC divisional game. We were up on the Dallas Cowboys. I'll go back and look that one up too. We were leading the Dallas Cowboys, and they knocked out Roger Staubach. Now, other people would go and say, "Oh my goodness, that's y'all should win the game." Well, Danny White was the punter at the time, and Danny White came back and rallied the Cowboys to a win. And I'm pulling up the box score right now to see. Atlanta was up 20-13. Exact same scenario. So those of you want to check it out, we were up 20-13 at halftime. Dallas tied it up with Jackie Smith. Remember Jackie Smith of the drop the ball in the end zone against the Pittsburgh Steelers popularity. And then Dallas scored in the fourth quarter and went ahead and won the game. But the first part of the game, that was Roger Staubach. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up here. Roger Staubach played the first half. He was 7 for 17, 105 yards. And then they knocked him out of the game. Danny White came in 10 for 20. I know by today's standards, those horrible numbers, but he did come in and win the game so that was like the second time Dallas had bit us at the end. But the first time was 1978, and the second time was 1980. That happened. So just some jump. Yeah. Let me see. Hold on. Let me pull this up right quick. Ryan says NFL films did. It was called The Duel in Dixie, and he never ran in the neutral zone. He stopped, tiptoed down the line before the ball was snapped. Fulton Kuykendall, Joel Williams, Buddy Curry, Roland Lawrence, Jeff Morrow, and Tom Pridemore. So look that up when you see that particular one. Shin says, I was 6 when we lost to the Cowboys. My first of many heartbreaking Falcon moments. I tell everybody, and I'm not ashamed, that was the first game I think I ever cried. And I was so ticked off.
Man,
at that game.
I
so
went down. Me, my dad, and my sisters were down there in '78.
Right.
And boy,
right.
Look, we outside.
Right.
It's cold.
Right.
In Fulton County. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a night game too. We didn't get it. It was we had the 4:00 game. It was late.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time the night came, it was already dark, and that was not a good memory, man. Not a good memory. Ryan says he was fired in 1982. Oh yeah, the playoff game. Like I said, that was the strike year, and the Falcons, I think, were the number. I think that was a 4-5 game, if I'm not mistaken, because 8 teams made the playoffs that year. So
yeah, that was just a free for all.
Yes, that's the NFL was trying to save their season, and I think Washington ended up winning it that year, if I'm not mistaken. I think Washington ended up winning that Super Bowl. Tonio, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Shin says, without looking, I think the 1980s Falcons had a historical defense of the time that season. Now, again, I think people get it twisted. They had remnants of that Grits Blitz, but the main Grits Blitz team was the 77 team. That was the one that only allowed 129 points and set the record, which obviously won't be broken because we passed 14 games. But they held the modern day record for a 14-game stretch. They were 7-7 that year, probably had an outside chance to make the playoffs. But when I say nobody was scoring on them cats that year, nobody was scoring on the Falcons. Their problem was they didn't have an offense that year. Their offense, and the very next year, that's when they made a couple of upgrades on the offense, and then made the wild card that year. So that was a really good team. Keith says, in hindsight, I think firing Bennett was a mistake. The 82 team was missing some defensive players. I think that whole year was wonky. And if you ask me, Keith, quite honestly, I think it might have been over for Lehman Bennett then. When you had that 1980 team, the one thing that I do, that is jumping over me. The one thing that I will say that I was disappointed, that 1980 team, we didn't lose a lot of folks off that team. Now, William Andrews did get hurt the next year, but we went 7-9 the next year. And I think the expectation was, man, you were a step away from the championship game. You stepped back much more than you were going forward. And I think, unfortunately, when your team suffers like that, someone's got to pay the price. And I think that was Lehman Bennett, in my opinion. I think that was, there you go.
You got him.
I got him, I think. I think I did. That was a pretty big boy right there, too.
Man, don't offend the doggone Peter.
Hey, man. Look, that was a knack. Well, in his defense, he got all this stuff that I got over. Y'all can't see the plethora of bottles and cans I have right here. So Shin says Bennett, Dan Quinn. Ooh,
I see that.
Not a bad analogy right there. That's actually not bad.
I see it.
That's actually pretty good. To be honest, I mean, because you think about that. Lehman Bennett, he came in and give Bennett credit, more give Glanville credit, because Glanville was the DC of those Grits Blitz teams. So kind of like the opposite, where Quinn had the offensive guru, Bennett had the defensive guru. And when we were, and Bennett took that team to that height, but couldn't quite get them over. But that's actually really good, Shin. That's actually really good.
And to Bennett,
what's up, Rusty? Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Bennett's question, to Bennett's credit, Bennett made a decision. It was wrong.
Yeah.
It was wrong, but he made a decision.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember, what was it, the year after we went to the Super Bowl. You remember when Quinn hired an assistant he hired a get back man.
Oh, the get back coach. Right.
And man, Mike Holmgren ate him alive on 92.9. Hey man, you in charge of that. You as head coach, because the thing was, he hired a person to tell him or advise him of the situations that were going on the field, all that type of stuff.
He was supposed to be a time management. That was really
that was telling. That's
what he called him for, which was kind of ridiculous. But if you have to hire somebody to do that, there's some problems.
And it goes to the narrative and goes to his legacy that he never coached the offensive side of the ball at all. Right. There were a lot of coaches, like Marco Emmanuel, just like Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris, when he came here, he was defensive coordinator down there at Tampa, head coach down there in Tampa. Okay. Coach, they moved him to wide receivers coach up here. And I questioned that when he came here. Okay, that's a defensive man. What are you doing over with the wide receivers? Okay, he went on ahead because old Rabisky had left with the previous regime. Okay, and thing was that, I look at Dan Quinn's resume. There isn't like I said, there isn't an offensive bone in his body. All right, and the narrative that everybody else had that, that man is just a professional assistant. He's not head coach material. And that proved it. I said, man, good grief. And Mike Holmgren told him up behind that. Come on, man.
Well, again, I think Dan hadn't been head coach that long. So I'm going to give him a little bit of slack because that was.
Well, now, Steve, when you get on the big horse, you better be ready to ride.
Well,
no matter where you come from, when you get on the big horse now, you own it.
He almost got to the Super Bowl too quick, I think, in Dan Quinn says. I told people when Dan Quinn got fired from Atlanta, and I told people Dan Quinn is a DC. And he even showed you when he went to Dallas that from a yardage standpoint, Dallas wasn't historically doing anything. But to go from the 32nd worst defense, there are no more than 32 teams, to go from the worst defense in the NFL to bringing it not only back halfway, but to go take away the ball like they were doing last year. Dan Quinn was meant to coach defense. He wasn't meant to be a head coach. Sheehan said, hold on one second. I'm going to get this right quick. Sheehan says Shanahan and Glavin for defense. Yeah, exactly. Well, Dan Quinn didn't tell Shanahan to run the ball when he was on the 22-yard line and there was 2 minutes and 57 seconds left in the game. Bennett shut down the 80-team offense in the second half. Same coach, just a different era. Oh, yeah, you ain't go again. I agree with you. I think it was on equal footing for both of them. Ryan says them wide receivers were balling because he taught them how to play D-backs. That's why the wide receivers were dominant. You talk about Raheem. When that Raheem was there, Raheem was the receivers coach that year. Yeah, that definitely helped out. Sheehan also says Dimitrov was the problem that we are seeing the negative effects from, like I said, 5 years ago. And I'm gonna tell you, Sheehan used to always come in here, and I can't even. It is nothing I can rebut from this man, because when we used to go back and forth back in the day, and I always used to laugh because I said to myself, I said, boy, Dimitrov is never setting foot near that man's house ever, because Dimitrov is the devil.
Hey, man.
And a lot of people, listen, I think we never, it's easy. Now, look, Matt Ryan, first few years, really good. Nobody remembers the last four. Dimitrov set this team up pretty decently. You can't win. You can't have 5 straight winning seasons and say the guy didn't know how to do anything. That's not true. It's just factually not true. He messed up a couple of key things along the way. Absolutely, he did. But you can't have 5. You can't have 5 winning seasons in a row and be considered a failure. I think you can say he failed near the end, but at the end of the day, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
as soon as we let go of Brian Cox, I knew we were going to be assaulted. You know what, though? Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. Brian Cox was great for TV. Brian Cox was, because really, Brian Cox hasn't advanced any further since he left. I think Brian Cox was the right person at the right time for this particular team, because it was a young team. And them young boys listened to him. And I like that. But aside of, of course, the rumors are that him and Quinn butt heads, all this stuff and whatever. But I'm not about to give him all kinds of credit on that, because I still think to this day, if he was that great, you would see him as either an assistant head coach or a head coach somewhere else. I think he did a great job with the Falcons when he was here for the job, but I don't think I'm not ready to just act like he was the cat's meow.
Now, Steve, now I'm going to say this. Right. Just like they say in the Navy.
Right.
Rising tide floats all boats. And a sinking tide drops all boats.
Yeah.
When the Falcons fail. See, that 28-3. Man, look here. Steve, that 28-3.
Right.
That caused questions and ripples throughout the whole Falcon organization. Okay, right. All of these high-value players, or all these players that you have here on the Falcons team, all these coaches that you have on the Falcons team, you let a 25-point lead slip away from you defensively as well as offensively, because, see, these were 25 unanswered points in the biggest stage of sports. You devalue everybody. Everybody was devalued, okay? And because of that, coaching staff too, the shine came off of Quinn. The shine came off. Now, Shanahan already had a job now. Already had a job.
Right.
Okay. So he'd go to the 49ers not having to worry about what was going to happen to his former team. But everybody, especially in the eyes of the fans, it's just like, man, oh, shoot, do we have the right people here? How in the world did this happen?
I'm not going to argue with you about people jumping ship, but how do you explain from a defensive standpoint that the defense actually got better in 2017? Brian Cox wasn't there in 2017. the people who wanted to jump ship, they jumped ship. The defense got better. So, yeah, and you're right. I mean, look, it's human nature. Of course, you lost 28-3. You better be soul searching and try to find out what happened within. But at the same time, I mean,
because didn't Brian Cox put his stamp on that defensive line?
He did, but the defense actually was better when he left. Remember, Marquand took over the next year.
Who was it took over for the defensive line?
Defensive line. I'm not sure for the defensive line.
But now,
I know Marquand was running the defense, though.
Who?
Marquand
Manuel.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's right.
He took over the defense.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Again, I understand what you're saying, and emotionally, I get it. Yeah, you just blew a 25-point lead in less than 15 minutes. I get that. Of course, you're going to be soul searching. But I'm saying the next year, if everything fell apart, what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. A few minutes ago, we were talking about how, Lehman Bennett took a team one step from going to the NFC Championship, and then the next year go all the way back down to 7-9, 7-9, 6-10, 7-9, one of the two. And that's a total step back. The Super Bowl team actually defensively got better. That was one of the things that in that span of 15 minutes, that was very critical. So your mark as Dan Quinn, if you lost that game as incredibly as you did, get the defense better. And you know what? They actually did.
Yeah.
Statistically, they were much better. The Falcons, if you look at that year, we actually were pretty good. And even the game we lost to Philadelphia, Philly scored one touchdown.
Yeah, we held them to the lowest point total of the playoffs.
Right.
With 15.
So when I heard you talk about Brian Cox and jumping ship, I'm almost like, good, leave, because we got better. So it's not like he had this magic wand or this. I mean, it almost sounded like a defense of him. So
And see what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
And one thing that I have to be sure that we clarify and understand.
Okay.
Defensive line versus defense totally. Okay. Brian Cox put his stamp on that defensive line. That defensive line were headhunters in that last part of the season and in the Super Bowl, because nobody really got to Tom Brady like our defense did during that Super Bowl. Because you had Grady Jarrett getting sacks. Matter of fact, you had Hageman get a couple of sacks. Okay. And they were terrorizing Tom Brady. But the rest of the defense and the defense as a whole did get better in 2017. You're absolutely right.
Now, I will argue with you that the defensive line, though Ryan just brought out Bryant Young was the defensive line coach. If you remember, though, we didn't have the sack numbers in 17. Though. Matter of fact, I'm going to go look at it. We didn't have the sack numbers in 17, despite having a really good defense. We actually didn't have the sack numbers that year. 2016, because I'm just kind of going by what you're talking about as far as so 2016, from a team standpoint, we had, looking at it now, I'm sorry. I'm taking two.
I see Ryan has posted that Bryant Young was defensive line coach in 17.
Right. But my argument is that while they were probably still solid, we didn't put the pressure on quarterbacks in 17 like we did in 16.
In that team.
I know it's not popular to talk about how good Vic Beasley really was in 16, but Vic Beasley was really good in 16. Adrian Claiborne was really good in 16. You had some guys that played really good and put some pressure on them cats in 16. 17, and I'm gonna have to look at pull it up a little later. We didn't put the pressure on, but overall, we did keep the scoring down. Matter of fact, I think it was a stat that year, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't lose a game where we scored where they scored what was it, 20 points? 20 points. I think that's what it was.
Well, you know why Vic Beasley was so good in 16.
I think he was good in 16 because he was really good in 16. I think Vic Beasley will go down as the most curious case bust in Falcons history, because at the end of the day, I think he was, look, you can't fake your way to 16 sacks.
No.
You can't fake your way to 16 sacks. He got 16 sacks. And that's for sure.
Well, it's two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Freeney on the other side, and Freeney was training this man.
And I can understand that. And I don't feel, listen, okay, if that's the case, then
and when Freeney left, and they moved Vic Beasley to linebacker. You remember?
Yeah, they did. They
moved Vic Beasley to linebacker. And Vic, and see, now I don't know whether this was Bryant Young that did this,
right,
or whether who made that decision, but they moved Vic Beasley to linebacker.
Right.
Okay. And you know, you know, that's why I always bring up about your boy Andre Bruce. That was his downfall. That was his downfall. They put this man at, well, he started out as a linebacker, but instead of him rushing the quarterback, they had him spying, you know. And who was it? I think it was Eddie LeBaron or whatever, jumped all over Marion Campbell, because he came under Marion Campbell, right? Andre Bruce came under Marion Campbell, because Marion Campbell was right before Glanville. He was right before Glanville.
Coming off of the 3 and 13 season.
Yeah.
So that was,
you know,
horrible pick. Horrible pick. Ryan comes back. Ryan says, wait a minute, hold on. All right, let me just go down because I can't see some of the things. Say that pass interference play, I think that's Rusty. Rusty said that pass interference play against Julio and that last play, talking about the Philly game, I believe. Ryan says the Falcons held the Eagles to the lowest point total of the season. John mentioned that. Rusty says, no, this is Rusty. Rusty says if Neal could catch, we would be back in the NFC Championship game. He's talking about the play right before half when Neal jumped up and tried to catch it, and unfortunately his knee ricocheted the ball straight to the receiver, and the receiver ended up getting what turned out to be the difference, because they don't get that field goal. The Falcons could have been marching in for which would have been an automatic Matt Bryant field goal against Philadelphia. I agree.
Well, that's why they make them defensive backs.
Ryan says you can't expect the Gator to catch a damn thing. Wow, he was trash. Neal had a good year. Again, it's easy to talk about the players after the year. Neal had a really good, that rookie year, Neal had a very good year. Just like we're talking about Debo right now. Debo in 16 and really 17 had really good years. I don't know whether that was Dan Quinn. I don't know what it was, but they played very good that particular year. So it's kind of hard for me to just poo-poo all over. I know everybody wants to do that, but
but I mean, you know, us looking back at all of these chances, all of these teams. Oh man, I tell you, Steve.
Sheehan comes back, says once our center Alice Mack got hurt in the Super Bowl, everything went downhill. I really believe he should be in the Hall of Fame in
He
5
was
years.
hurt before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he got hurt during the championship game.
And now, Steve, Steve, now, let's dwell on this for a second. You remember, and I'm gonna try to see if you remember or Ryan remembers or whatever. Mm-hmm. The report was that he had an ankle injury or something wrong with his ankle.
Right.
And it was minor. Nobody was saying anything about it. They minimized it. They act like it wasn't a pivotal thing.
Right.
As the weeks went along prior to the Super Bowl, next thing you know, you see this man got a crack in the fibula. Okay. And New England.
Do you actually think they were going to tell people that though?
Okay.
Come on now. Come on, Jay. Come on, man. And he's an offensive lineman too.
See, I understand that, but it was your choice and his choice as to whether he was going to play or not. It didn't really matter whether you told us or not, but we, for information's sake for us, okay, here he pop up. Oh, he got a broken fibula. What? From ankle strain or a high ankle sprain. You know that always high ankle sprain mess, and sometimes that leg broke. And see, you should have been rotating this man in and out, man. But
I bet you he wanted to play.
Oh yeah,
he got some of that extra heavy duty cortisone.
They shot him up.
They shot him up. They shot him up. Tonio says him on the other side had nothing to do with those 16 sacks. Maybe him learning from Dwight, but him being on the other side had nothing to do with those sacks. And so, it just got to say, 16 sacks. 16 sacks. Listen. I'm not saying Dwight. Look, Dwight Freeney was a beast for us that year. And he got his own. I think Dwight got about 6 or 7 that year himself. Mm-hmm. But still, if you remember that particular year, there was one play, and I don't know if everybody remembers this play. And I always go back, and I always go back and start watching film. Go back and watch the game that Vic Beasley against the Rams. He gets 5 sacks that game, 4.5 or 5 sacks. And on the one play, they do what the defensive players call the big kahuna. He sacked them, he stripped the ball, and he scored the touchdown. Go back and look. On that particular play, Vic Beasley, he runs in the end zone. He goes up to slam the ball on the goalpost and immediately pulls his arm down. And look, and Jay, if you remember that play, tell me. I'm going to try to pull that up and see if I can pull that. I can't play up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have to see that one.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to pull that up. I'll put these other comments up real quick. Said them years in the league was a play action heavy. I think they moved him back to stop fast quarterback, but Beasley couldn't cover the running back. Yeah, I don't know who made that decision, but that wasn't really a smart decision, if you ask me, to pull him back into that.
And additionally, and I know you heard about it, Steve, where Chuck Smith was trying to get him into his camp, trying to get him to where he could develop some moves, where he could, stop relying on pure athleticism and get some finesse about himself. Because the thing is, like I always say,
Was this after the 16 sack year or before?
Yes, after.
After.
It was
okay.
After.
So why would I want to go to Chuck Smith?
Well, Chuck.
Listen, I love Chuck. I think Chuck was one of the toughest dudes to ever play for the Falcons. But if I just got 16 and a half sacks, I'm not mistaken. I don't know whether he was all pro that year, but I'm pretty sure he was. What do I want to go to Chuck Smith for? I just led the league in sacks. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Oh, okay. And see,
I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay, I'm just saying, but why would I want to?
Not just that year, but every year that he stayed here, Chuck Smith was trying to get Takk McKinley in. And
remember, Beasley also got a 9, even though everybody remembers the big year from Beasley from 2016. Beasley actually had another 9 sack year too. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up right now. Big Beasley.
But was it that it was after they moved him back to
but he still got the sacks, and there was no Freeney on the other side. No, he got 8. So for those, just to make sure people believe me. Okay, so in the year, where are my sacks?
All right. Remember the dog.
I'm trying to. I dig my blind behind. Okay,
just give me.
It's 15 and a half. I keep saying 16.
Give me 2.
Okay,
clicks.
so hold on. So the rookie year he had 4. The next year he had 15, 5. 17 he had 5. 18 he had 5. 19 he had 8. Now, boy, would I love to have him on the team now. We were complaining about 5. I think the leader for the Falcons this year had 3.
Man.
So
see, we in desperate territory.
We play. Look, Monday morning quarterback shoot. We should have kept him on the team.
hey, man.
But I go back, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is to say he still got 8 sacks in 2019 without Freeney on the other side. Now, these two, if you're having a year where you were, and he was an all-pro first team in 2016, all-pro. So you came off an all-pro year where you had 15 and a half sacks in your second season. What would the average NFL analyst fan think is going to happen for the rest of his career? You're going to be a baller, right? Wouldn't you? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I think I lost you. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. Come back. Go out and come back. I'll put you back on. Go out and come back in. There you go. I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now. So
okay.
So what I'm saying is, you just had an all-pro year. So I'm going to the anti-Chuck Smith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You had 15 and look at the. Oh, I just took it off when you went off. Okay. In year 1, as a rookie, you had 4 sacks. In year 2, you had 15.5 sacks. You're an all-pro first team. And Chuck Smith says, hey, come to my camp. I'm not trying to say you don't learn. You can never stop learning. But I'm saying, why are we always, and I've heard somebody else say this too, about the Chuck Smith camp and all that. I'm like, what do I need Chuck Smith for?
You always want to get better.
Well, yeah,
you always want to maintain.
I hear you.
Because thing is, I go back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady got a break. Right. The biggest break, a third round, sixth round, 190-something pick ever got, starting on a team after the starting quarterback gets hurt and wins the Super Bowl. Okay. He made the very most out of his chance by going to quarterback camp, learning how to get better.
Right.
And see, the thing is that, okay, even if you are if you went to the Pro Bowl, you were an all-pro and everything of that nature, when you coming into camp, those coaches gonna coach you too. Those coaches gonna coach you too. And you need to improve on your craft. And whatever help that you can get, it would be the bad side of cocky not to take it, because people are watching you.
I disagree. I disagree. What reason do I need to? Okay, Jay, you are a Falcon legend on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Legend. You got 10 sacks on the Super Bowl team. I don't know how many Chuck got that year, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a rookie or second-year player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if Von Miller, Aaron Donald's in the middle. I don't care. I got 15 and a half sacks. I'm an all-pro. My career is on the uptick. I have whatever I did from the year before without you. I'm thinking I should do the same thing because I've shown my growth. Now, I'm not playing. Listen, we can't play the future. I'm playing in that moment with Vic Beasley. What reason would I want to go and say, hey, let me go to Chuck Smith because whatever he does will make me better? No, I just improved 10 sacks by myself from 15 to 16.
No, he didn't. Because see, Dwight Freeney.
No.
Didn't Dwight Freeney?
Dwight Freeney was great. Dwight Freeney took
No. I'm not talking about what he did. I'm talking about how he was mentoring him. Dwight Freeney was mentoring him too now. Remember?
Yeah, but
you remember?
You can't mentor 15 sacks.
Why you can't?
You can't mentor 15 sacks. And then Ken comes in and says, forget the sacks. Tell me how many tackles Vic Busley had each year. Okay, first of all, Shen, tell me if you're trying to see if my defensive end is getting 50 to 60 tackles a year. Nobody cares about what a defensive end does unless it says quarterback hits, quarterback sacks, quarterback hurries. Say what now? Yeah. I could care less about how many tackles he's making. Don't get me wrong. It's a legitimate stat, but that's not what I'm looking for in my defensive end. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my defense to hunt the quarterback.
See, the defensive line, their primary job is to push the offensive line, create double teams in case you want to blitz a linebacker, cornerback, or something in there, and get sacks. That's their job. But running backs coming out the backfield, if I can grab him, I'm gonna grab him and put him on the ground. But sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can't.
Right.
But see, the thing, like I was saying, Steve, it was Dwight Freeney that was helping out Vic Beasley because he was a rookie in camp. And he got 16 sacks. And he got them all on his own because he beat the man. But I started noticing that since Beasley didn't have any moves, he was being overpowered on that corner because he used to always put a big doggone tackle over there and just grab him. And, by the time he could try to get around him, the play gone. Play already gone. Now, that's what I noticed.
I was hoping you were going to talk a little bit more. I'm trying to.
I'm
trying to pull up.
Talk, Steve.
I'm trying to. Look, of all times, I got to tell you to stop talking. Got to keep talking.
See. That's what a product was not being in a 2-man booth.
I'm trying to show, and I got it pulled up. I'm gonna try to.
Okay.
pull it on the screen. The touchdown from Beasley.
Oh, that touchdown you were telling
the
me?
touchdown that I'm talking. Oh no, let me turn it. First, let me turn down the volume. I'm trying to.
Yeah, you don't want that man to get no more royalties. He done been paid already.
That was the one that scored 35. Hold on. 35. We put a lot of points up on them cats. All right, hold on. All right, let me see. All right, so. All right, god dang it. Yeah. All right, I'm trying to. Hold on. Bear with me, bro.
No, no problem. No problem.
Bear with me.
But oh boy. But like I said, Steve, you know, when we were looking at the amount of sacks that certain players were getting, and
Right.
we were complaining about that paltry amount of sacks that they had, man, I trade in, you know, that for 0 sacks any day of the week, twice on Sundays, because see, man, you know, and plus a lot of those non-sacks are due to offenses getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quicker now. You know.
Okay. Here we go, and I apologize for everybody for taking so long. This is the play that ruined Vic Beasley's career in my eyes, and I want everybody that's still with us to take a look at this, because remember, he had the shoulder stuff, and he was really never the same after that. Because remember, he used to kind of go underneath with his shoulder. Look at this play back in 2016. This is the play that I think effectively ended his career. I don't even think it was about.
Was it 16 or 17, Steve?
16. This is the Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl year.
This
is the game that you see him, strip, get it, pick up. Now watch as he tries to slam the ball. Look at his shoulder. Anybody, let's go back one more time. 36.
Hit that 10-second button.
I should have done that. My bad. But watch again as he lifts up. Beautiful play. Sack, run, in there. Look at his arm. Watch him go up. Watch his shoulder. Vic Beasley got 1 sack the rest of the year.
So he snatched his own shoulder out of.
He snatched his own shoulder. Look at him. Even the guy picked him, but look at his shoulder. Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him leaning.
Yeah.
He was never the same after that. He's trying to play it off.
Yeah.
But that shoulder was never the same. Beautiful technique. Got underneath my man. Great fumble. I didn't see Dwight Freeney helping him out on that side. I didn't see. Great play. Great play. But when he goes up to try to do the little slam, he kind of pulled lane.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was something, in my opinion, that was significant to me.
Oh,
that was.
Well, it was because thing is, you remember that's what Tack McKinley had an operation on. Didn't he have an operation on both shoulders?
Yeah.
Because his technique. Now, and I'm just going to quote what Chuck Smith was saying.
Right.
When he rushed with his hands out at the shoulder instead of coming like a lever. Right. Now, this is what Chuck Smith was saying. And see, whenever you rush with your shoulders out like that, as soon as you make contact with a man, you can traumatize these shoulders because you always jerk back.
Right.
So,
And I think he overjerked
yeah,
on that particular. Like Ryan says, Beasley wasn't a impact player to change the game. Defensive ends are vital in today's league to change the tide of the game. Make no mistake about it, Ryan. I'm not trying to call him a Hall of Famer. I'm not trying to even call. I'm saying in 2016, we cannot deny what he did. I'm
yeah.
not trying to I'm not trying to pump him up any higher. I'm just making the facts. Facts, 15 and a half sacks. Facts, all pro that year. Shin says Big Busley is the example of the Dimitrov draft pick. Have a good season or two and be trash. Big Busley ruined his career by not caring about being a great player. Now that I agree with at the very
Well,
end.
now,
Shin, let me run through these real quick so I don't have to go back. Gwen Shin says, oh, okay, I never noticed that injury, Steven Johnson. Good call. He was still a Busley. Again, you're not going to get me to disagree with you. Absolutely. But for 2016, and this sounds blasphemous, we don't win we don't go to the Super Bowl.
You don't get there. You don't get there.
What you got from Vic Beasley.
You don't get there.
You don't get there without that.
You don't get there.
Rusty says Tat had mental health issues low key. I remember a report about a police being called on him because spectators thought he was harming himself. That was here. That was he was on our team then. Yeah. I remember that.
That was during the offseason, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And remember, coming in, they say that's why they say Tat would have been a top 10 easy draft pick. But he had some stuff back at UCLA. If I'm not mistaken, and I know Ryan keeps up with that stuff. Ryan, wasn't it something where he was he might, and I said, I'm not speaking ill. He threatened to kill himself or something in college. It was something around there, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something that went down in there. I could be wrong, but maybe I'm thinking about something else. Ryan says Tat destroyed his shoulders at UCLA. She says, okay, we don't get there without Busley. I can agree. And that day, Shin ain't buying no number 44 jerseys ever. That's
hey man, I can't disagree. I never bought a number 2 jersey.
Ryan just helped me out. Thank you, Ryan. I knew it was something like that. Said Tat had an assault charge at UCLA and he had a suicide attempt at the school. And I knew, and when you start thinking about things, look, 15 years ago, NFL teams thought, well, we'll bring him to a professional team and we'll bring him under our umbrella and we'll train him. We'll socially make him adapt to to having social graces and all that good stuff. That's what they thought. The 2022s and all this? No. You got red flags, man?
No.
You'll stop dropping.
Well, because the thing is, we ain't got time.
Yeah.
We ain't got time. See, the clock starts on a head coach and his staff just as soon as they get hired.
And remember, you don't want to waste a pick like that on a first round pick because you got certain guarantees locked in that first round. You'll more likely take a chance on somebody in the second round, in the third round, as opposed to doing that. So I don't. Yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame, but hey, that's the world we live in now.
Shin says, "Guess who sounds like Tat Ritter?" Boy, I hope I'm wrong about Trubisky 2.0. I mean Ritter. Don't get me wrong. Now, Shin, you ain't being nothing but mean now, Shin. You all be shaming yourself. Yeah.
well, Steve.
Let me say something. I understand. I saw something, and what's the girl name? Terry McCary, whatever. the lady's name is, who does the beat stuff for the Falcons. And she wrote this glowing thing about how, he's a winner wherever he's gone, and he has a leadership qualities and I said, has he played a down in NFL yet? Listen, I want, and you talking about somebody who wants him to ball out. I want Ritter to break every record there is. I want him to be the next face of the franchise. I want him to be just the all-time great.
We want this.
We do, John. How bad do we want this, man?
Man,
how bad do we want this?
We want this.
And I'm glad he's getting good press. I'm glad that we're fascinated with his background. I'm glad that he showed leadership qualities and the other stuff. But what's your favorite saying that I always steal from you when people start talking off the field? What you say?
Get it off the paper, put it on the field.
That I mean, and it's about as real as can get. Don't get me wrong. I hope he shocks us all. I hope he wins the game. You listen to I hope they don't throw him out there too. Man, if he ready to play, throw him out there. But if he's ready to play, go ahead, Jay. I mean, go ahead.
Well, no. Yeah. Steve, you go ahead. Go ahead. Because we speaking the same language, in different tone. Because, hey, man, look. I'm looking at all of the prerequisites, and I listen to Ryan Walker and various other people talk about drafts, because just like I say, I don't pay attention to drafts and things of that sort, and players that are coming or players that are destined to be here, there, whatever. I don't even pay attention to that part. But when you get here and you are named part of the team, that's when I start watching you. Because your college legacy is already done. It qualified you to become a pro. I'm judging you on what you do as a professional, okay? And thing is, all of this, he's a winner and he's a this and he's a that and all that, that's good. And that's good for press. That's good for encouragement. That's good for having a good feeling about the person that you got. And it's also PR justification for the draft pick you made.
Right.
To convince us that you all know what you're doing. But you can't be convinced of that 100% until you put the pads on and you get on the field with my colors on as a starter, backup, or whatever in a regular season game. My measuring stick is the scrimmage against Jacksonville or whatever. That's my measuring stick, because that's going to be the first time that you're going to, well, it might not be the first time, but you're going to be in live action then against somebody other than your teammates.
Right.
Okay. Because even though you out there practicing, you don't have pads on yet. You don't have, you're not fully suited, and you can't go 100% against your own team. Right. I mean, yeah, you're going to have that dog in you, but that's your teammate. That's your teammate, but you going against an enemy jersey. Oh, hey, I can go with that because you went up against an enemy jersey.
Right. Yeah. I'm just a big believer, to your point. I think you just have to let it play out. I'm looking at Shin coming, and Lisa told me, said Tony McElhaney, I think that's her name, McElhaney. That made the glow. And again, that's her job. That's her job. So I'm not trying to as somebody in the press, that's your job, to get the hype, to get the everything. I get that. So I'm not knocking that.
An old man told me a long time ago. And I never forgot it. He said, don't be singing your praises too loud, because it ain't the whistle that pulled the train.
That's a long ass saying, but That being said, but you gotta be able to put that together. Sheehan also says, my thing is, you don't have. My thing is, you don't have to make those promo articles for Ritter if he was that dude. Well, in some ways you do. He's still a third round pick. He's not he wasn't chosen in the first round, So I get it.
Well, Steve, that's for the public. That's
exactly.
That's what that's for. That's PR. That's PR. Okay, thank you. But us who have been around a few campaigns, we know how to wait. Oh, okay, man, that man's saying the right things and this and that. Okay, all right. But we know all that's talk until we get in between them lines against somebody else.
Right. I'm so, we were talking about Vic Beasley. We were talking about Tat McKinley. We were talking about briefly about Rashid Hagelman. We start thinking about all these people that came in and even currently on the team. Marlon Davison, Frank Darby. I'm talking about people who came in and did a little bit of chatting. And maybe Beasley didn't do as much chatting, but Hagelman did chatting, Davison did chatting, Tat did a lot of chatting, all of that. What impresses me the most is what happens on the field. And to your point, you said it perfectly. All of the rest of that is for fans. It's not for anything else but the fans.
So, but see, hey, also, Steve, your head coach.
What's going on, Mike?
Your head coach last year came in here talking that smack too. Him and your general manager came in talking that smack. We here to win.
Not really.
We here to win now. We here to win now. We ain't tanking. We here to win now.
That's different.
Steve,
hold on.
You remember we had a conversation.
Do you expect now? According to you, you mean as a head coach, I'm gonna come to the podium. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? I'm Coach Steve. Man, we got some garbage back there on the roster, bro. Y'all ain't gonna get nothing out of us this year. It's some garbage. Matter of fact, if y'all coming to the game, y'all might want to turn back on this one because we ain't gonna win but one home game for y'all this year. According to you, that's how you would want them to come out.
No,
I understand. I know exactly where you're going. You going to the line when they told you that they weren't rebuilding. They were trying to win.
All they had to do was say, we're gonna come out, we're gonna compete. We're gonna compete every Sunday. All right, we're gonna be out here and we're gonna try to win as many games as we possibly can. So but don't tell me that you're here to win now when somebody tells you about tanking. Okay, don't tell me you're here to win now. Because see, you remember what I told you what win now means. Win now means Super Bowl to me. Because see, you can win all you want to. You can win all you want to. But see, when you say win now, that means Super Bowl. So I'm setting your bar high. But if you come and you say, when they tell you, are you tanking? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you crazy? We are not tanking. We're going to take the team, or I'm going to coach this team up. I'm going to get them ready every Sunday, and we're going to come out and compete. You say that, and then let it go. Hey, next question. And go on to something else.
So I go back again. You are honestly, as a coach, going to go out on a press conference and tell everybody, yeah, man.
No,
we taking this one up this year. That what you gonna tell them?
I ain't telling them that. I just gave you the press conference right then. Mr. Johnson, your question was, what are we gonna do this year? Well, Mr. Johnson, we're gonna compete. We're gonna come out. we're going to play as hard as we possibly can, and we're going to be playing dominating football. We're going to do what it is that we can, and our job is to win every week, and that's what we're going to do. Well, Mr. Harris, are y'all planning on tanking? No, we're not planning on tanking. What are we going to tank for? Well, we don't do no stuff like that. We coming out to play football every week. We're going to compete. No, Steve, I'm not saying come out there and paint doom and gloom. You can't do that as a head coach, because part of your job as a head coach is the PR too. True. You know, your part of your job as a coach is the PR too. And, you know, hey, look at some of the coaches' interviews. I like to go back and look at some of the coaches' interviews from the past, you know, because in my next live, I'm going to post Jerry Burns, and you're going to get a kick out of that one, because that man was sick. But yeah, I mean, look, see, my thing is don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's the thing. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. And see, Steve, let me tell you something. I believe I told you this before. The cardinal sin for me from a coach is to say he got out coached. Don't you never doggone come on the doggone on a press conference and say somebody out coached you. Well, then maybe I need to have that other coach as my head coach and fire you. You know, don't you never tell me no stuff like that on the man. No, don't you. It might have happened, but don't you come on television and admit it.
I think I understand where you're coming from, but to the point, you can't come out and say that's what you're gonna do. Shin says, as a business, we can't admit to tanking. Lisa says, can't publicly say you're tanking. People are paying a lot of money for season tickets. So again, I guess that's the only thing I say. What are you supposed to say at the beginning of the season? If you're the Jacksonville, who had number one pick this year? Jacksonville or Detroit? Who had it? Jacksonville. Whoever had it.
Yeah.
If you come out at the beginning of the year and you say, well, y'all see where we picking. So we picking at number one. So your expectations better not be that strong. I mean, if you have somebody has to come up and be, I don't want to say be positive, but have to give a long-term plan. The one thing that neither one of them said, their goal is to win.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked Terry the question last year about tanking, and I remember what you were talking about, and he was saying back in his sustained success comments.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was talking about. I don't think that's just the right model to go and tell the fans that, hey, we're going to tank. Nah.
Oh, no. And Steve, I've given you the sound bite. I've given you the sound bite. Right. That's what you're supposed to say. And see, the thing is, you know, a lot of times coaches will say a whole bunch of words, but not say anything in all the words that they say.
Right.
And you got to learn how to do that. But see, Arthur Smith reminds me so much of Belichick. And I think we texted back and forth about that. Right. He reminds me so much of Belichick, it's just ridiculous. Because Arthur Smith, I catch him a lot of times. His speech is not fluid, it's jerky. And the jerkiness that I'm getting from his speech is that he's trying not to cuss. Or trying not to say certain things.
I think he's really good. I think Arthur, and once he did this year, because we were able to jettison Matt out of here, I think as opposed to before, now starting in 2022, Arthur Smith is going to get a lot of blame for what goes forward. I think last year he got a pass. He got a pass last year. Got a pass last year, but you had a quarterback, whether he's aging or not, but let's just say had run his course in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And Arthur and Terry weren't able to put their fingerprints on this team until Matt left.
True.
Now, this becomes your team. When you think about when Dimitrov came in, and as unfortunate as the Mike Vick situations were, with that, Dimitrov was able to put his fingerprints on the franchise immediately.
Yeah.
Arthur and Terry had to wait. Not only had to wait because Matt Ryan is still serviceable, and it wouldn't shock me if Indy wins the AFC South this year. It wouldn't shock me at all if he is upright. But until we got that out the building, you couldn't make any plans to do the things you want to do. Well, now Matt is gone. You brought in Mariota, and listen, by no means people are acting like Arthur Smith, that was his first choice and that was his boy in Tennessee. I have to remind people, Arthur Smith's first year as OC, Mariota was already gone. So he wasn't even there. So I don't understand how people keep acting like, now he was a tight ends coach, but it wasn't like he was the OC when Mariota was there.
Well,
when Mariota was starting.
Okay, and you're right. But I'm going to say this. Now, they've been running their version of the West Coast offense up there in Tennessee ever since, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff Fisher left.
Right.
Okay. And him being the tight ends coach, having to, commiserate with the offensive coordinator at the time, or the offensive coordinators at the time, they may have developed a relationship, and they possibly had to, because of the fact that he was on the coaching staff and he was the coordinator during that time. Okay, so he knows that Mariota knows his system. He knows that Mariota knows his system, so it's not a real steep learning curve for Mariota to come in and possibly be the starter versus Ritter, because Ritter has to learn the system. Now, there's a possibility that Ritter can beat Mariota out in training camp, same way Russell Wilson beat whoever that was that who was that Seattle brought in? Seattle brought in a quarterback, Matt Flynn. Seattle brought
Russell Wilson, right?
And Russell Wilson beat him out in training camp.
Right.
Okay.
Same thing. But the difference in that situation, I think that clearly was a blind side, because Matt Flynn was coming in as an NFL vet. And remember, this was also 2012. It wasn't like that wouldn't shock people in 2022. 2012, Matt Flynn got paid a good little amount of money.
Yeah, to come in and never got on the field.
Yep. Ryan says Jacksonville had the first pick. Yeah, I knew it was Jacksonville or Detroit. Sheehan says, hold up, Steven Johnson. Arthur Smith and Terry, when they got here, they watched the last 3 years of film on Matt and said they were fully behind building around Matt. You must have forgotten that. Stop making excuses for Arthur Smith like you did for Dimitrov. Okay, in 2 more years, we'll be looking for a new coach, a new QB. Okay, first you misinterpreted what I was saying. I didn't say. Of course they gonna say they looked at film of Matt Ryan. Of course they gonna say they building behind Matt Ryan. If you remember, Sheehan, so let me take you back since you go into history. When Arthur and Matt first arrived, they didn't commit to Matt until after Matt signed the same thing that happened this year.
When they
restructured his contract. If you remember and go back to those press conferences, they were saying things like evaluate the roster, see what's going on. That was with Matt and with Julio. Trying to see what they were going to do. They did not commit to Matt until the day after they restructured his contract. So that's not true. All of this that you're saying, the fully behind him, that was after the restructuring sign. Go back and look. Please go back. Go back and look at the introductory press conference with Terry and Arthur. They both addressed it. They're going to have to see what happens. And then once they restructure, of course it was kumbaya. You better be kumbaya. You owe the man $40-something million. It had to be. And sometimes people have to kind of look, man. Sometimes things are for window dressing. It's almost like you were talking about earlier when you the statement about, saying that we're trying to win now and stuff like that. I can't give you my whole game plan day one. The press and fans want the coaches to just give up their whole game plan and give up their whole train of thought on day one. Just like this year, when the draft comes, they want you to lay out the whole game plan, how it's going to work on day one. They're not going to tell you that. So,
Well,
and there was not a full commitment to Matt until after they did the restructure.
Well,
so that's not true.
And I'm going to say this about that too. That might be something that I do that other people don't do. I add comments together. I string comments together and try to, see where your head is or what your aim is or where you're going. Because I heard that comment. I heard the committal to Matt comment. And I also heard the Matt Ryan wants to be coach. He needs to be coach. I'm willing to coach him. Right. Okay. All three of those things together, we're here to win now. I'm behind Matt. Matt wants to be coach, so I'm going to coach him. And, all those things congealed into one thing. Hey, you for this man. You say that you can do something with this man. All right. So I took them at their word because that's what they said. As I said before, there are many things that you can say in the press conference and say something, and then again, not say anything at all, but fill the time answering the question and then go to the next question. And just like you say, Steve, yeah, everybody wants to know, and not just the fans, the reporters. They want you to reveal everything you getting ready to do. Yeah, I'm gonna draft Harris at number 1. I'm gonna draft Johnson at number 2. But if he don't want to sign, I got $5.
I got a backup with this one.
Yeah, I can do this and I can do all that because see, everybody's trying to get the scoop. Everybody's trying to know more than everybody else or get the inside on this or the inside on that. You
can't do it. You can't give it away.
You can't
give it away.
No, you can't.
Killian, what's going on, Killian? Killian said, what's the discussion about? Yep, Killian, we kind of all over the place. Our original conversation we were talking about was roster concerns and top 3 Falcons team in franchise history. But right now we're leaning on the conversation about Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot. Are they the plan for the Atlanta Falcons going forward? And I see Shane came back, says, okay, that's fair. I do remember that. But once Matt's restructured, it was cool. Then after the season, they went for Deshaun, or better yet, when Deshaun used Terry to get the deal from the contract from the Browns. Again, I listen, Deshaun has to do what Deshaun has to do. And if he used the Falcons as leverage, I applaud him.
Hey, we've been used before.
And Terry, okay, so let's not only Terry Fontenot,
Bill Parcells,
Mickey Loomis, what's my boy in Carolina? Matt Rule. All of them were trying to get Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun at one point made each and every one of them think they had an end to get him. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Cleveland said, okay, while all of them doing that, how much are the Falcons going to pay you? Here we go. $230 million guaranteed. Now it turns out he is a slight possibility he might not even play a game this year. And guess what? Even if he doesn't, even though if he gets suspended, I think the contract pushes back a year when they do the suspension.
Well, what they did, his salary, okay, he got a $44 million signing bonus. So he can take all these folk off and it won't hurt him. Okay. His salary this year is only $1 million.
Right.
His salary is only $1 million. So he's not really losing anything. The next year is about 20-something million dollars, and the contract takes on up. So see, and see, that's Ryan had put something out about, one team losing money on him or whatever because of the fact that, he signed this year or whatever. But Cleveland, anticipating is a possibility of a suspension, they already fixed the contract. So, it's not a situation. And additionally, like I said before, that's not Cleveland's money that he's paying out. That's Deshaun Watson's money that Deshaun's paying out. So they really don't have any they don't have any stake in the game.
Killian comes back, said information age, we can't give all the sauce away for the season. And that's true. Even though, listen, the one thing I will admit, and then he came and said Shin says the Falcons had the best deal. Deshaun took our deal to the Browns and said, beat this, and the Browns did. I'm going to be honest. I'm happy for Deshaun that he didn't sign with us. And at the end of the day, it does. Look, we dodged the bullet, Shin. Right? No doubt. I was excited as anybody else when we had the opportunity to get Deshaun Watson. But in light of even some of the personal stuff that came out, do y'all realize that money was going to handicap us, man? We were almost in the same position we were when Matt was here. Steve, if we would have done that.
See, now, Steve, okay. If we had drafted a quarterback in 2021.
Hold on. Before you did do this, Ryan is said you misquoted him. Ryan said Cleveland would be losing money. He said, if you're going to quote me, dang it, you better quote me right, god dog it. Because I'll come through that screen and take that little American Furniture couch of yours and move. Nah, he didn't say that. That's me. But nah, he stopped. I'm just messing with you.
But see, hey, that was bait. That was bait for him to come in and get it right.
I'm trying to start stuff.
But see, this is the thing. He said Cleveland would be losing money, but how? Cleveland not gonna lose any money. Cleveland ain't losing a cent because of the fact that, look, the contract's already signed. He's going to get his money. They've already slotted him for $1 million salary if he's not going to play. So Cleveland not losing a cent.
Well, they're not losing a cent, but they're on the hook for the rest of the money. I hear what you're saying. If he doesn't play a down, it's not like this year in the salary cap, it was going to be a big punch anyway. I think at the end of the day, I mean, there is just a look about it that you want to make sure
that's all it is, the look, not the facts, but the look. Because the thing is that, okay, say for instance, that man, somebody tears an ACL. Suppose the man tears an ACL. Okay, you got a guaranteed contract, and that would be with any team. You tear an ACL and you got a guaranteed contract, well, that money just get $8. And you get a salary exception for tearing the ACL. So my thing is that it's not a situation where you're losing any money. And see, one thing about it, no NFL club loses no money. They have ways around all of that. They got ways around all of that. Yeah, I just saw what Ryan put up there. Don't even think about
it. Hey, Ryan said he's sick and tired of covering for you, man. Shin says we need the assets and the money that Deshaun wanted to build. Justin Fields should have been drafted last year. I agree with that. Man, Shin, you gotta next time I come in here, Shin, you gotta come with. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Since I joined this group, Shin is that dude that always keep me sharp because he don't back down for a lot of stuff. I respect that. I respect the mess out of him. Justin Fields should have drafted last season. If there was any doubt about Matt moving forward, then we would be ahead of the curve on this rebuild. See, I was one of those people, and I know we heard the whispers that Terry wanted Trey Lance, but I was with Shin. I think if you drafted Justin Fields, I think to his point, we would have been a year ahead.
Yeah,
we would have been a year ahead of things, and really didn't need to get middle Matt Ryan. Didn't have to, but when we saw we were 3-6 or whatever we were in the halfway point and going in, shoot, what was it going to hurt to throw Justin in that end and get his feet wet? In my opinion.
And see, that's why when we were talking in the beginning of the show, I asked you, is it the real rebuild now versus last year? You know, because thing is that, you know, this year is the real rebuild. This is the real rebuild right here, because you got rid of the 800-pound gorilla that everybody was trying to walk around, and he's sitting up there eating bananas, putting banana peels on the floor, you slipping and falling into him, acting like he ain't there. But Matt Ryan was still there. You know, he was still there, and he was the most important piece and the most pivotal piece that reminded you of 2016. And like I said, 2016 just keeps you all the time remembering where we could have been and what could have happened all the freaking time. I mean, everything points back to 2016.
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Well, look,
what's going on, man?
Let me tell you
Don't
something.
call me out unless you're going to quote me, right, brother? I know. You've been on this thing for 2 hours and we've been listening to your buffale. And for anybody that's Creole, that means bullshit. So I'm going to call it for what it is. I love some of the takes that you did have earlier, though, about Vic Beasley and the old Falcons. You were spot on about that. But what I was saying in that birdcage segment last week was this. Cleveland is still going to be on the hook, as you know, as I said. Uncle Steve pretty much quoted exactly what I was saying. You're talking about, okay, he's got $1 million up front, so he's able to pay those women off, because in the article that I posted that you commented on, it actually says that he's only got to pay $900 and something thousand to those 23 women. Now he's got a 24th that's coming out. So when you look at that money that he has to pay out, each woman is going to get in between 20 to probably $43,000 out of that settlement. So when you sit back and you talk about that, all I'm going to say is this. Quote me right when you quote me, because like I said, you misquoted me twice today. Now, I've been sitting back being patient because I'm not trying to step on Uncle Steve's toes, because y'all been doing a good job on the show today. I ain't going to even sit there in front. I said, I give you this. I said, John, me and John saw eye to eye with those 1980 Falcons. I give you that, hands down, because as we said earlier, that defense that was with the 1980 Falcons was a young, nasty, aggressive defense. I would put them in an honorable mention for me, but I didn't get to see them live. So my teams, as I put out, was the 91 Falcons. I say the 2012 Falcons and the 2016 Falcons. Because, and the reason I chose those three teams, I mean, I'm not going to knock the Falcons in 98, because that was just a great coaching job all around, because Art Shell stepped in for Dan Reeves after he had that heart surgery, and he did his thing. But when you look at the talent that we've had with some of the teams that we've gone to the playoffs with, the problem is we can't seal the deal and we can't finish. Now, what you're speaking on about what's going on with Deshaun Watson right now, I'll tell you just like this. Deshaun Watson is a talent, but here's the thing. It's like using a muscle when you're working out. It's muscle memory. If you're not using that muscle memory, that timing goes away, that crispness goes away, and you start to lose what made you great. Like Deshaun hasn't been hit, and just think about it. It took Michael Vick almost a year or two to get back on his feet. I'm using him as an example when he was with Philly.
Mhm.
And even Andy Reid spoke out on the fact that he was not in shape, football shape. He was in shape, but not football shape. So
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson coming into a situation, even if he was to play, he is not in football shape right now. Because if anybody played the game understands this, I know both of you probably did back in the day, but if you played the game at any level, you understand that when you go through your offseason conditioning and you go through your practice and everything, there's a callus that has to be built up when you're actually being hit or pushed a little bit just to get used to it. So to your point that you made earlier about Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and none of those starters going in last year I'm sorry, not Julio last year, but Julio was gone. But the starters from last year didn't play in the preseason. Their callus was not built up to take punishment. But at the end of the day, Cleveland chopped their nose off to spite their face with making a deal like that. And you don't even know what this man's future is going to be. And everybody knows this. Even if he gets off legally, even if he gets off, he still got to deal with Roger Goodell. And Goodell is not a guy that is forgiving. So Deshaun Watson might be suspended for this year and partially some of next year as well. So that's my piece that I got. And oh yeah, Bill Parcells is actually in the personnel department. You mentioned Bill, but he's in the personnel department in Cleveland. He was one of the ones who signed off on it. So y'all can have at it. I just wanted to make sure my presence was felt, because don't quote me unless you got it right, bro.
Now let's go back. Now the $1 million is his salary this year, correct?
And he's gonna be using that as a payoff for that $900 and something thousand to pay those women.
Okay, I understand that, but he got a $44 million signing bonus.
He's got the $44 million signing bonus, yes. Oh. However, he is not gonna touch that money yet until he steps on the field. That's one of the stipulations in that contract, because that's like you opening your window and you throwing money out of the window.
Whoa, wait a minute now. You get the signing bonus before you play, don't you?
No, not necessarily, not necessarily. Here's the thing. So the way you asked the question, I'm answering. So the way that signing bonus works is this. You will get a signing bonus, but there's a stipulation in that contract. Yes, that's guaranteed money, but it's pretty much you're paying somebody to work. You still got to put in the work, and you still have to be there. Right now, he's practicing. So in a sense, he's not getting it paid all in one lump sum. He's getting it in installments. However, he's not going, like I said, he's going to get that $44 million, but he's got to earn that money. Cleveland is not going to sit there and just throw money out of the window, because that's what you would be doing if he gets in trouble and caught up. You're throwing $44 million out the window, not to mention his contract.
But see, isn't his entire contract guaranteed?
Nope. It's 330 million. It's 330 million he got. Now, he got a huge guarantee to whatnot. So with that huge guarantee, they gave us a ballpark figure, but we won't really know, because we already know Cleveland, like Steve was saying, they're not going to put all that information out there to the T. They gave you an estimated figure of what was fully guaranteed, but they're not going to tell you how much, because they still want to keep a little bit of suspense. And if they have to correct something financially, they can do so, because it's not just us watching these interviews. You got the NFL that is very key in watching these interviews, because you got to remember, they still got to follow protocol too with the league.
Right.
Yeah.
Their financial standings.
And see, my point about this, he has been absolved of jail time. So that's not even a consideration. Jail time is off the table. When the grand jury said that they did not have enough to try him, that got that. So the only thing left is the civil case. And
that's what I'm saying. So what if he gets convicted of this 24th lady that they put out there? Because that's another one that's come out, and she wasn't a part of that original settlement. So the question is this: what do you do if he does get caught up in that situation, though, John?
Yeah. Now, if he does get caught up in that situation, now they're going to determine. Well, no. Didn't she come up just with the civil case? Because see, no criminal prosecution.
It's just a civil case.
It's just a civil case.
It's a civil case, but still, you're here. Look at it like this. Even though it is not higher than a civil case, that civil case still hurts him when you talk about the front office of the NFL. They don't play, and I'm gonna put this out here, and I'm not a racial dude, I'm all about being fair. That is a black man in a situation where he has allegations against him about pretty much about sexual assault. That is not going to go over well, because you have to remember half of the NFL is supported by different organizations that are out here, and that right there, if he was to get let go, that would be something serious. Because I can tell you right now, Cleveland fans, it's a split in that state right now. There are some fans who want him to be there, and there are some fans who are sitting there, putting him out in a bad way too, John. Go ahead, Uncle Steve, because I see you pulling up numbers.
Yeah, I'm trying to, and the only reason I brought it up is to just go back to your guaranteed money, because I think it is, to your point, there may be parts of it about how it's constructed that we don't know about, but it is guaranteed. And one of the reasons why I know it's probably guaranteed, I've taken a lot of time to go not only into the capologist land, but also kind of study and see what we got going on here. If you notice, his cap hit is exactly the same every year. So what they did was, this year, to your point, the $1 million, even if he's suspended, it's really not a
he's gonna get that $1 million. The money that we're talking about is that signing bonus that John was bringing up, which was $44 million. Here's the thing: you got Bill Parcells that is in that front office in Cleveland. And you really think that you got to remember, you got Bill Parcells in that front office. So you really think that he's gonna let that organization walk into a situation blindly? And he's also a part of bringing in, putting the system in to bring in guys. So when you look at that, they can't hamstring themselves. So that contract has different technicalities in it that we won't know about. But I guarantee you that Deshaun Watson will get that money, $230 million guaranteed, but they're not going to pay him unless he steps foot on the field. And right now, what's helping him out is he's stepping foot on the practice field. But if Roger Goodell suspends him, the question is, what type of payment plans or financial installments does Cleveland have to cover their butt if he gets suspended for the whole year? Right. That's my question.
And John, just to answer your question real quick, when you were talking about the $44 million, you'll see it broken down. The $44 million is the signing bonus. And every time, I know a lot of people, when we see the signing bonus, you say, well, what happened to that money? Well, what they do with the signing bonus is almost what they did with his. The $44 million starts this year as far as what it counts for. And so if you look, 2020 through to 2026, it's $8.9 million. You add that up, it's almost $9 million per year, $45 million, a little bit, almost to $45 million. That's where your bonus money came in. So really, there's not a concern at the moment. You broke it down perfectly as far as what you were saying, Ryan. But I just wanted people to know that money gets counted, but it's not traditionally like the base salary.
And Uncle Steve, you also know this too about being in and you also understand this too about being in business. Cleveland has a backup plan financially to keep them out of a hole in case he is sat down. I guarantee you that, because at the end of the day, you still have to look at it. You still have to look at it from a standpoint of, we can't waste money this year, because who's to say, they don't have to turn to Baker. And if they don't have Baker, if he gets hurt or he says, man, screw it, I'm sitting on the bench. Y'all still got to pay me my money. They might have to go out and get somebody because that relationship with Baker Mayfield right now is separate. So when you look at it, it's a lot. It's a lot of, how can I put it? It's like we said when I was in the Coast Guard or whatever. We had what we call fire blankets that we kept on the ship. Anybody that was in the Navy understands what those are. Those heavy blankets that you put out fires with. Right. There is, I can tell you right now, there's fires in Cleveland right now that they're trying to put out with a fire blanket, pretty much a fire retardant blanket, and they're not using water to put it out because in a sense right now, they can't put it out. Your boy Baker Mayfield's not letting them put it out, and he's not letting them schmooze it. He's still pissed about how they handle it. So it's still a lot going on. So Cleveland, honestly, the only thing they got set up is their defense, but we don't know what's going on internally because it's a bunch of mess.
Yeah, it is. Before I let everybody go, because it's 9 o'clock and brother gonna eat. So Ryan, I heard you talk about your teams and break down one time before we leave, because I know me and John been on for a long time. Break down the team that you said was the best, and I heard you 2016, but give me the other two teams you said.
So I said it was the 91 Falcons, the 2012 Falcons, and the 2016. The reason I say 2012 was because the defense, it wasn't the greatest, but it actually was serviceable to where they could generate pressure. You had John Abraham on one side. You had Witherspoon when he was healthy. I mean, that defense was flying around hitting folks. But the problem was they ended up, Mike Smith's system got figured out by your boy Harbaugh, and they ended up giving us issues. But offensively, we were a team that was balanced, that could run the ball because we had a good offensive line, and then we had Michael Turner in the backfield. Obi Mahaley was back there, and then you also had Quiz Rogers at the time still coming in from spot, as a spot player.
Quiz. Oh yeah, Quiz.
And then you got to remember, people forget that Harry Douglas was a huge part of that. We always talk about Julio, Roddy White, and Tony G. Harry Douglas is a guy that gets forgotten about. And Harry, to me, I feel like this. Harry should have been a guy on that last drive. I get we were going to Roddy White, but Harry should have been a guy that they had that play set up for because they were focused on Roddy, they were focused on Julio and Tony G. Harry should have been a guy that they would have ran a backside fade route to, and honestly would have taken that safety out because he was killing them the whole game.
Think they fell out of favor with Harry with that one play?
No, it had to be a multitude of things that triggered that because Harry's I've met Harry before. Harry's a cool kid and very patient. Where anybody that knows Harry knows his daddy called most of the shots when he first got to the NFL. Still, anybody that knows Harry knows that. But Harry was a guy that really was a very good slot player that we had and was dependable.
Harry was very.
And I was pissed. I was pissed that we didn't go to him more in that game because they didn't have an answer for Harry.
Yeah, they didn't at that time. We were there, and that was we really could have blown those guys out of the water.
Steve, why they didn't focus on that doggone Harry Douglas? Because your boy was standing back there staring at who it was he was getting ready to throw to. Didn't even look over there and see. Didn't even see it. He didn't look the man's way.
And before again, go back to the 91 team because we already shared our stuff about the 91 team.
My childhood.
Tell me what made and I've seen a couple of people come on here and talk about the 91 team. Tell me what makes the 91 team better than, let's say, and I'm gonna go forward because again, it's not fair for you to go back to some of the older teams. What makes that team more popular to you than the 98, the 2004? That 2014 gets lost in the shuffle. We were in the championship game that year too. That was my senior year in high school because I graduated in 2005. I was in Jacksonville when I had everything set up because my mom worked for AOL. I was supposed to be going to Super Bowl parties during that time. When the Falcons lost,
when the Falcons lost, I didn't do a damn thing. I didn't even want to go to any of the events in the Super Bowl. And I got in a fist fight with an Eagles fan. That was when I was young and stupid. They were, singing the chant song and hey, it's forever I love Atlanta, and I beat him down. I almost got arrested though, but I'm not going. That's another story. But but honestly, the problem with that 04 team, was good, but the problem was this. I feel like this when we were down in the red zone, after Algie Crumpler got the piss knocked out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Philly had a problem with stopping big backs. That was a serious issue they had that year. Even though they had Brian Dawkins, you had all those good defenders there.
Marshall.
And your boy, what's your boy name? Javon Curse.
Hugh was here.
Hugh Douglas. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
In short yardage situations, you're supposed to go to TJ Duckett. In short yardage situations.
Right.
We did not do that. And that's why I said that offense. I mean, that team in 04, I love them, but I'm not putting them in my top 3 because you didn't use a key piece when you needed to multiple times that year, because we were relying on the legs of Michael Vick pretty much.
Right. And I agree. I think that's why that team, I noticed a lot of people don't put them in the shuffle. But again, we've only made the conference championship four times. Is it 4? And
we've made it.
That's
we made
one
it
of those
4
teams.
Yeah,
that's one of those teams, and we don't ever give that team love. So I just always do that, gentlemen. Love both of y'all. Y'all are awesome. Appreciate y'all. Hopefully y'all in Atlanta Bird game. Catch Ryan. Ryan, what time you on this week, brother?
So last week was just a special week because we had a few things going on. But same time, 8 p.m. You already know what it is. The Bird Cage. It's a show made by people's opinions for people's opinions. So you already know what it is. Tune in. We got you covered. Kick back, relax, have a drink, have a cigar like Tidy does in the bathtub, and let's have a good time.
One day when you kick Glenn off the show, I'm gonna come on and take Glenn's place of the show.
Just let me know, because I've already told you we gotta have you on there one day. We got
Look, let me tell you something. Glenn and you held it down for me draft night, and I mess with him all the time, but he should know I'm just playing with him. But y'all helped me out that night, man. That was one of the best nights we've had on this platform.
We got you, Uncle Steve. We got you covered.
Well, I gotta repay it to you, so I'll let you know when I get my time. If I'm not working, I'm gonna try to sneak in there and get that. Jay, appreciate you as always, my friend. You've been there to rock before all the rest of them. So I appreciate you coming in and doing this. We've been doing this 3.5 hours. So we will catch you later on, and y'all in Atlanta Bird Gang and in Atlanta, and I'm sorry, on Uncle Steve's Lounge and YouTube. We will catch y'all later on. Everybody have a great night, and we'll catch y'all later on. Peace.